Welcome back, everyone. It is time, but we had EMEA earlier on today, and tonight we're going to be looking towards North America. It is Groups A versus Group B once again. One round robin has been completed, and now we have a plethora of questions that we must ask ourselves for tonight's broadcast. Can TSM rise to the occasion and step up and assert their dominance? Especially from that intro clip, we hear it. TSM has come down from the heavens, and now we need to look at it. Will FaZe continue on and keep that momentum moving forward, or will 100 Thieves bounce back off the momentum from match day yesterday? Well, we'll have to see. I'm SpiderTiff. I'll be your host this evening, but I could not do it alone. So I'm gonna bring back our dynamic duo from earlier today, and I'm gonna kick it off with Glitter. Glitter, welcome back. How are we feeling?
Oh, I am very excited right now. After all of the action that we just saw go down in EMEA a short while ago, I anticipate that NA is seriously going to bring the heat. I mean, like you said, there's lots of storylines we're going to be following today. We're going to be keeping our eyes on FaZe. We're going to be keeping our eyes on 100 Thieves after their performance yesterday. TSM, will they get the bounce back that everybody is hoping that they can get? And then, of course, there's going to be lots of outliers, which we've seen have a resurgence today. A lot of those teams that we might have counted out too early came in strong in EMEA, and they might do that here today in NA.
Ooh, that's a really good point. I mean, Dark Zero had a really strong showing last time these two groups met up. But Vicky, let me know your thoughts. How we feeling? We saw all the action in EMEA, a lot of outliers, but a lot of people keeping it consistent.
I'm excited. Glitch, where are they at? Are they going to continue on the domination that they've had so far? FaZe, another team that I have my eyes on. There's a lot of talent right now in Groups A versus B, but we have to look at the teams that haven't been performing to the potential that we were expecting them to perform, especially after this past recent LAN in London.
Ooh, I mean, that's a really good point. We looked at EMEA earlier today, and we were kind of challenging the region with storylines overarching, right? We want to see this region level up. And I'm kind of asking the same for North America as well. With all the changes from Season 16, it's time to kind of unleash the beast, per se. We were talking about Snipedown and FaZe in particular earlier, and it's like, it is that dangerous moment when people start counting you out. And some of these teams, if they don't start to step up soon, it could feel like maybe they are starting to get that kind of feeling for them. Let's go ahead and look at some match highlights from the last match meetup and just see kind of how things were moving. In particular, XSET having strong momentum moving forward, and they've been incredibly consistent, which I can think of no other team led by Hodsick Glitter. They're just phenomenal.
Yeah, and we were really excited to see them play yesterday because they started off so strongly on their very first play day, and then they matched that yesterday. But then we're talking about those outliers, teams that might have surprised us. Furia, the resurgence from Furia, starting off the day with an 11 kill win, getting a second win later on the day, one on each map as well. And we noticed the most mature version of Furia, or at least that's what it felt like. They were making more conservative play calls, and they looked so strong, Vicky.
Yeah, it's crazy to see some of these teams make their resurgence into what we were expecting them to start off strong from the very beginning, but better late than never, as I always say. Glitch Energy, definitely a team that really was put on my radar that I've honestly gotten really fond of, but another team from the very beginning of my Pro League experience and getting involved here in the Pro League that has always had my heart is 100 Thieves. Listening to Amu talk during the interview was such a delight. And then Dark Zero too, we can't ignore Dark Zero when we go into their in-game comms to hear their pure excitement every time they scream.
I mean, you're not lying, Vicky. We talk about that endgame scenario that we witnessed on Storm Point. It was just like something clicked, and I feel as if all of the passion from Dark Zero kind of came out in that exact moment. But it's been a lot of questions. You know, you said you saw a lot less Catalyst and more Watsons yesterday, Glitter, but it seems like XSET with Nocturnal on Catalyst for Storm Point, it's looking nice.
And this fight, this fight was insane. Onset and I were losing our minds because what happened to even get there between Optic and XSET was such a good example of phenomenal gameplay. And then we closed everything out with such an impressive performance out of the duo on 100 Thieves, able to survive for so long and then clutch up the win to get them the overall first place position to close out the day. I mean, there's not enough good things we can say about what happened yesterday.
Look, that's got to be one of the most intense feelings, clutching a fight like that when you've been a duo for so long in a match and then just bringing it home at the end. But let's look at the season standings as they currently lie here for NA Pro League. We weren't able to show these at the end of broadcast yesterday, so I wanted to go ahead and get them up close in front so you can see where everything is currently updated. And Xset at the very top, 66 eliminations of 46 points, but it's really close, ladies. Dark Zero rounding out with second. FaZe, I mean, Glitter, we were talking about it. This is getting a little scary.
Yeah, it's certainly less top heavy than what we saw, especially at the end of the day today in EMEA. So NA, these standings are just going to be changing with every single match. I'm excited to see what the final result is, but there's lots of teams that we expected to be up here. When we continue moving down these standings, Vicky, there's some surprises farther down the list.
Yes, Sentinels, Luminosity, Oxygen Esports actually being another one, Optic Gaming being the other one on my radar. Drug Free started so strong day one, then they've unfortunately fallen once we got into Storm Point. These teams on the other second half of this leaderboard were the teams that were surprising me a little bit, because these are half the teams that I was expecting to really pop off.
Speaking of teams really expected to pop off, I'm actually kind of shocked that Sentinels is here in 19th, and you know that Sen City is not going to be pleased with that performance. And I'd imagine here, as we kind of go through the second round of A versus B today, we might see some pop-off performances. But a lot of questions, a lot of answers that need to happen. TSM 21st place in the overall leaderboard, MLS 22nd. We have Rise, AJC, Noxious just recently picked up a roster, so that's really fun for them. Lanimals, you know, they had kind of my attention moving into the Split 2 Pro League, and I feel like these are the teams that we really need to see step up today.
I honestly could not agree more. And the more that we're looking at those overall standings, I think that today is going to shake things up for a lot of these teams, because there is nothing for them to lose. We talk about how these round robins move quicker than people realize, and we're looking at groups A versus B here. And I mean, we called out a lot of squads already, but Vicky, I loved your call out on Glitch Energy. We talked a lot about them already, but they have these pop-off moments that show what they're capable of.
Yeah, I want to see that continue on going into today, because this is the team that got second behind Dark Zero. They were holding the overall #1 spot in the A versus B standings for quite a while in the first day alongside FaZe. But can they keep that consistency? Because I think you worded it perfectly, Glitter. This is the team that I have my eye on when it comes to the inconsistencies that could be brought in to a lobby like this, where we keep having these heavy hitters just coming out of nowhere. And I love to highlight teams like Dark Zero, FaZe, because these are the squads that we were looking at already before, but specifically FaZe, with a shortcoming performance in Split 1, have come around and turned things around for Split 2.
Look, there's a lot of teams that need to turn things around for Split 2, and we always have to kind of look at teams in particular with a little bit more of a spotlight on them. It's one of my favorite parts of the broadcast. It's going to be that teams to watch, and I'll kick it over to you, to Glitter. I'm curious to hear who you're keeping your eye on.
All right, thank you very much, Tiff, because I'm excited to talk about mine. You mentioned when we were looking at those overall standings that we saw Sentinels a little bit farther down the list than we would have liked to see them. And I agree, okay? We're talking about Rambo, Arcane, and Keon. And I know they had a bit of a rough start to this season. 19th on day #1, not what they wanted. But talk about a bounce back, because then on day 2, they get 7th, and they get a win to close out the day, already on that upward trajectory. And we're talking about a team that was arguably one of our most consistent teams during Split 1. Now we're in Split 2, and if we're talking hard stats, we're looking at them averaging only 2 kills per game right now in comparison to 3.6 from Split 1. So this is something that I personally anticipate improving for them, because I think that the first weekend was filled with a lot of growing pains for a lot of teams, and we know just how good Sentinels can be. Vicky, who do you got?
I gotta talk about the team that I've been mentioning since the very beginning of us starting NA, and it's gotta be FaZe. This team has been popping off. Frex coming in from Space Station, Phony moving into IGL after leaving ESA. Together with Papa Snipedown, they're finding their stride in NA. Snipedown has this like the built-in rage meter, where the more you doubt, the stronger he gets. And so far, he's second place in overall kills for the split, with 24 kills behind Sykes having 27. This team, day #1, started off in 3rd place. Day 2 ended the day in 2nd. And can this be the opportunity for them as we see them again for the 3rd time going into day 4? Can they take that #1 spot? Because I think when it comes to consistency, FaZe definitely has it in the bag.
Ooh, talking about consistency, Vicky. Well, I mean, look no further than 100 Thieves. They're going to be my team to watch. I feel like we've got to put some respect on the 100 Thieves name. Ever since taking third at Champs back when it was in Raleigh, North Carolina, the trio consisting of Onmu, Scurry, and Vaxlon have been on a quest to find themselves back into the mix. And they've been really keeping the dream alive for us mouse and keyboard players. I'm not going to lie, they're all trio, all playing it. And just basing off the energy that they brought yesterday, look at this play right here. We talked about it just a bit ago. Vaxlon and Onmu had played as a duo to play for that win. And I got some notes from London, I'm not gonna lie, right? Vaxlon and PK, best duo. Look, there's no other room needed for it. Like, that is my main note. Yeah, there's some stuff about X set up here, but Vaxlon and PK, best duo. You saw it right there. So, I mean, look. What are we going to have tonight? I'm really excited. But regardless, let's go ahead and talk about multi-view. You want to watch ALGS at home on your couch? You want to chill? Maybe host a little watch party yourself? Well, do it with the award-winning multi-view. You can get the comms. You can see their rotations. You can even pull up the map view, which is one of my favorite screens to be able to watch. Maybe your favorite streamer isn't actually streaming, so this is one of the best ways to get their gameplay from today. Watch ALGS your way with multi-view. Now, the thing about this is, where are we going to be headed? What map are we going to be starting on? That's going to be World's Edge, similar to how we did it in EMEA earlier today. 3 matches on World's Edge before we hop on over to Stormpoint. And that halftime where we kind of make the transition over to Stormpoint has been really interesting because some teams, you know, very, very consistent on World's Edge, but maybe not faring too well on Stormpoint. Well, let's see if any team can make a name for themselves today. We're looking at FaZe, we're looking at 100 Thieves, we're looking at Dark Zero. Bro, there are so many teams here tonight. So I'd be curious to hear you at home, who you're going to be rooting for. Share it in chat. Stand up for your team. You got to bring the hype because it's really important. And with that being said, map number 1 is also way more important. I'm going to send it over to the dynamic duo of Glitter and Vicky to call all the action.
All right, thank you very much, Tiff. I am excited. 6 more games now on the table, Vicky. It's time for us to start talking about NA. We're kicking things off on World's Edge, and there are a lot of teams that have a lot on the line today. They're going to need to start picking up their performances and getting some points on the board.
Yeah, we looked at that second page. There was teams that we got to talk about it. Sentinels, TSM. We want to see those points get put on the board. There were some squads that started off really strong that unfortunately fell off. What is that going to mean now going into today? Looking at Drug Free, who had back-to-back wins, started NA day 1, split 2. Completely out of left field. I don't think we could have said that we were expecting Drug Free to be the team to lead the overall standings after exiting out of World's Edge, but unfortunately they couldn't keep that energy going into Stormpoint. Some of these teams that we've been seeing between EMEA and NA, they feel stronger on certain maps versus others, and it's about their comfort that they got to work into to figure out what they got to iron out so that way they could stay with that consistency across different maps.
And we definitely did talk about some of the potential causes for the rough starts for some of the teams that have the big names that we maybe expected more from. Obviously, that first weekend was a pretty steep learning curve for how competitive Apex was going to function within this new season. So the teams that had to play those back-to-back days didn't necessarily have as much time to gather information and learn and adjust as the ones who maybe played day 1, had day 2 off, and then maybe got to play day 3 or didn't start on day 1, got to watch a little bit, and then moved into day 2 and day 3. So there are some small factors at play here, but the fact that we do have so many of our top teams in a much lower position than we would have ever anticipated for the beginning of the split. Just 1, shows how crazy everything has been with all of these new meta changes, and 2, shows how tough the competition is. It just gets better every single season.
Yeah, it's always nice to see the changes that Season 16 has also brought into the lobby with a lot of our legends now moving into other passives, control, support, assault, skirmishers. Obviously, now we have the circle beacon as well as the regular beacon to allow us to know where the enemies are going. Even if you're not running a controller legend, you could get that beacon information on where everybody is, maybe who's engaging on what, who's rotating through what choke point, so you could get the notice as to where the circle is going to be pulling if you feel like you can't predict where it's pulling first.
Yeah, absolutely. Now it looks like we've got a little bit of a restart here for our game. So we're going to bring Tiff back in to hang out with us and chat while we wait for the game to be ready. Tiff, welcome back.
Oh, look, I didn't want you guys to have all the fun. I get so lonely when I get sent away. Like, it's just a dark hole, and I just have to wait to get back on camera. No, I'm just kidding. But let's go ahead and talk about a couple things. I know I want to chat about maybe some drop spot POI changes on World's Edge ahead of that, but we also have the pick rates available that I also want to get your feedback on. So let's go ahead and pull those up because Seer, 89%. How many reses must get canceled? How many heals must get canceled? How many ult excels must get canceled, Vicky?
I'm angry. I'm angry. Everything that was just listed. He's sitting in the Hall of Shame right next to Caustic, who is all the way at the bottom, but that's just bias out there. That's why he's only been picked 9 times. Mad Maggie on top of him, though, with 14 picks for the 14 games that we've been able to see her on. But it's interesting to note the middle of the pack here. Watson inching her way back into the composition when it comes to meta. Wraith being another one with the new update on her portal where it goes double the distance than it used to after the changes that Season 16 brought. Bangalore Catalyst kind of play the same role, disrupt your vision, but the Seer has been a problem. Gives you all the vision and information that you need to know where these teams are rotating, what you got to see between the Catalyst wall or even the Bangalore smokes.
I mean, it's true. You think about we saw in the broadcast earlier today in EMEA with Vexed, you had Matafe on Seer, right? Obviously, most of the teams have the Seer, obviously, from the 89% pick rate. But he was able to call out that there was a solo behind him simply from finding one heartbeat on the passive, and they were able to push it, clean it up, find that early KP. But ladies, I mean, there's so many things we can talk about when we think about the Legend pick rate, but overarching thoughts as World's Edge, we know there's been a lot of contests here in North America particularly, and people kind of switching it up. We heard from PvPX, Dark Zero's coach, and he was kind of like, yo, I wasn't expecting Meat to make a play for Fragment, right? So come to think about that, let's look at some of those early game contests. I'm gonna leave it with y'all because I have faith in you guys to take us through it.
All right, sounds good. Thank you very much, Tiff, for jumping in and chatting with us a little bit too before we get back into match number 1, because I believe that everything is about ready to go. So it's time for us to go back to talking about the first match, Vicky. But no, let's follow up on what Tiff was saying, because we're talking about the different change drops, potential contests that we're going to be seeing on World's Edge. And with the chaos that we saw right out the gate in EMEA, can we maybe keep our fingers crossed for some 50-50s here just to keep things interesting at the start too?
Oh, you know I'm always down for that. You know I'm always ready to see the 50-50s go down. But what is it going to mean for the squads that are hard-headed, that don't want to leave their POIs? Right. Sometimes we see some 50-50s go down in Climatizer, but also it's about the timing to these 50-50s, because we know that the third parties are not going to waste their time to move in at the proper timing to get involved in those 50-50 fights. You know, we're talking about Legend composition, and something that came to mind actually was thinking about the lower picks that we have been able to see in NA, probably from just the NRG side of things, thinking about Nathan and what they bring to the table when it comes to different Legend compositions. We're talking about POIs, but it's just so interesting to see how the season 16 changes has allowed these teams to also change up their playstyle. We're looking at TSM, probably the team that was ahead of the curve, looking at the Catalyst, Seer, and the Bangalore, now making some adaptations themselves, now looking more at Horizon to counter the Catalyst and the wall with the Black Hole. It's great. It's just so great to see so many different legends being utilized here, because it really does play into the strengths that these teams are feeling. But Glitter, we're going to try to see if these 50-50s come out, because we are getting started with game number 1 on World's Edge.
That means I am definitely going to be keeping my eyes on CCE after they've decided to switch off of Climatizer and potentially contest AJC over at Countdown. That could be a potential fight that maybe we could start off a little hot with. We'll have to, as I say that, are they already getting into it, Vicky?
I'm in danger. AJC is like, all right, but we got to talk about Capra being involved in this. Capra also finding the blue Evo shield off of Rib. So this is a nice little surprise out here, as Bro is going to be able to back off. Going to pop that shield cell real quick while Sheeny's going to be able to hold the other side. CCE always likes to choose violence, and they're out here because this is not the first 50-50 we've seen them using.
All right. We asked for a little bit of action here to kick off NA. It looks like CCE and AJC want to give that to us. Both teams, though, not in the best position. You see only 15 bullets left in that Prowler right now. So they're going to have to decide if they're just going to try and make this a quick fight or back off and go away to safety right now. Zoned in a little bit with the Thermite, and they see some tracers coming in from the side. CCE's in a lot of trouble, already down to 1, and Prophet not going to make it out of there.
Oriola's popping off, and you know, I just recently saw him in the Series E tournament this past Wednesday, and he is such an insane fragging player. You can see Capro's just trying to get some of the extra loot from the bot, but what a way to come out on top after your first fight and winning your 50-50 with AJC also walking away with some fantastic loot too.
But now this plays into what you're saying. And we saw this happen in EMEA. Now that AJC has won that 50-50, will we continue to see the contest? Or will CCE say, you know what, maybe this isn't the best idea. Let's back off and try to find another new POI? Or does the stubbornness kick in?
Thing is with CCE, I do recall that they were originally landing by Climatizer.
Yes.
With so much action happening in Climatizer and seeing the change up now, that's a good question, Glitter. Are they going to continuously contest AJC off the rip, or are they going to start changing things up? Something that I also know that James Bartoff is definitely enjoying himself is Mamba has been on this Caustic, and he has not let go of this pick being on World's Edge. And of course, I definitely could see the utility of Caustic on World's Edge versus what we usually see on Stormpoint, which is why we saw some Caustic heavy teams perform very lackluster in the first split that mostly relied on Caustic. Now CLG has not let that go. They've been able to find some success with this composition, and they are going to try to keep replicating this right now because they're currently sitting in 12th place in the overall standings that led up to this. I do recall in day 3, just yesterday actually, Glitter, you guys got to see them have their own pop-off moments, not only on Stormpoint, but also at the very last game on World's Edge.
That is correct. I feel like I'm waiting for the day, Vicky, where we get like the Vicky's dream team, maybe of like Caustic, Seer, and Rampart, and then you'll just be so happy.
No, that's literally what I can't stand in my own lobbies. Please, not here in the ALGS. This is my solace. I need to have a bit of a breather. And as I say that, Albert Lily is just mowing people down with the Sheila. We truly are out here as Glitch Energy. Don't know if I just cursed them because I was literally looking forward to the squad. They're the second squad to go down in this lobby in 19th. Talk about a start here for our game 1 on World's Edge.
I shouldn't have said Rampart out loud. I'm so sorry. That might be my fault. You know what? Either way, we're getting lots of early game fighting again in the first game of the day. It's something we saw in EMEA as well, and NA came to play. We knew today was going to be kind of a pivotal day for a lot of these teams. You could see Lanimals there across the way from CLG, TSM in the bottom. You've got MLS up at the top, and everyone's trying to already grab this real estate, but I know it sounds like it's early, but we're almost at that halfway point. These teams need to start making some seriously impressive moves when it comes to getting points on the board and putting themselves at a safer spot in those overall standings. So these teams are really going to start showing us exactly what they can bring to the table.
I like how you highlight that because if you look at where the circle's pulling, this is usually one of those circles in thermal where people like to rotate very quickly because if you're late on the rotate as Sweet falls low, he jumped down here, but should have no issue going right back to the rest of his teammates. Maybe trying to scout ahead. TSM wasted no time too, just waiting on the bottom ground. They're rocking the Catalyst, Seer, and Valkyrie. We did see them trying to mix things up with the Horizon at one point with Verhulst being on the Horizon, but I like this difference of play style here from TSM because, again, they need it. They're not sitting in the best spot in the overall standings right now, and a lot of other teams already making their way into this next rotation are going to get kinged by these choke points.
AJC, though, making it through after their successful 50-50, so they've got to be feeling a little bit good here also, not getting punished too terribly. They made it in early enough that nothing has really popped off, but now it's about continuing that push into any of the areas that haven't already been taken near thermal, and considering how many of the big names already made their way in there, it might be a little bit difficult to do that.
Do get scanned by a survey beacon that's right there next to them. They know that there is a team there because they were getting shot there originally when they were in the middle of the Skyward dive, but my goodness, looking at AJC's equipment right now and Capra having the bow check in his hands, the Prowler, not too sure how kitted it is just yet before he swaps over to that weapon, but This is a good position for AJC. I like this choke point because they could deny the rotation from the squads that are going to be leaving staging, trying to get through these choke points if they're already being held, trying to exit out of the choke point that leaves from Harvester. This is going to get hot pretty quick right now. This is one of those circles where if you're not getting through those choke points originally, you're going to have a pretty bad time, especially if you Hail Mary on a skyward dive.
Yeah, and you can see that on the map too. You're talking about them being able to hold the choke point. They do have at least one squad behind them that they'll need to be keeping their eyes on to make sure that they're not getting pinched from behind, but they can also get their gatekeeping done pretty safely because they know where a lot of the teams in front of them are, and they're far enough away that there's not a lot of stress. And as soon as this collapses, we'll have a better idea of where these teams need to continue moving. You see FaZe up there on the outskirts having come through from Climatizer. Everybody else, though, really jockeying for space, and everyone's going to be very happy about that shift.
Oh my, wow. Especially for the teams that could predict going into those buildings that are in the southwest side of Thermal. It's going to be huge. Drug Free. This is the team that I talked about earlier that weren't as consistent going into the second half of the day. They found 2 wins back-to-back on World's Edge, so they're playing to their strengths right now. But I'm curious to see how they're going to be able to play this rotate with so many other teams already holding the choke point into Thermal.
Definitely going to be looking for a little bit of a resurgence there from Drug Free, but just mentioned them before. FaZe coming in on the edge right now. A team that has just been absolutely stellar so far in this split. I mean, we talked about their new roster yesterday and touched on just how strong. We even got to talk to Eric, and he gave us some really cool insight to the squad. Obviously, phenomenal IGLing from Phony right now, and they look so seamless as a team.
I love it. I'm here for it when it comes to FaZe and the success that they've been able to find Glitter. That's why I had to highlight them, because making the swap up with Phony being the IGL and the falls we've been seeing from Snipe Down, they've been having a lot of success. But the same can't be said right now for Dark Zero. The cancel on the heal. He's desperately trying to pop a Phoenix, but it's Lanimals. This is one of the teams that I wanted to see more of. Jen is not having a good time. He's getting beamed by the charge rifle behind him. He's getting beamed in front of him. You can hear the 30-30 ringing in his ears. Lanimals, though, get interrupted, and after what we witnessed in the kill feed earlier, when we were watching CLG make the rotate, Albert Lily is on the rampart currently, and this is crazy to see. After what we witnessed in EMEA from the Alliance side of things, they have been able to find success with a very similar type of composition.
I cannot believe DZ just got caught out there, and honestly, Lanimals didn't even have to finish DZ in order to get the desired result there. They were able to back off, give themselves a little bit of space. You can see Albrelelli not in the best spot right now with those shields, so they're definitely going to be working on evoing those up as well. But DZ, big team to have taken out here. Now checking in with Optic Gaming, someone that we got to see in the highlights with a pretty epic fight yesterday as well up against Exa. I think a team, though, that we could still stand to see a little bit more out of.
Yeah, you know, giving some love to Optic, even though they didn't have the best day yesterday, they kind of found themselves ramping up by the end of the day, despite even having a lacking last game. They still got second place. I do believe in that game 5 yesterday. But day 1, they came out. They somehow have stronger games on Stormpoint, being one of the squads that we were mentioning being inconsistent with their results between World's Edge and Stormpoint, or vice versa. Optic Gaming, I need to hear a lot of roar from them, because this is definitely a team that we know has the ability and individual talent to find that success. FaZe, again, as we take a look at where the rotations are, we note that there's a lot of teams holding these choke points, especially exiting out of Harvester into that choke point that they're pinging right now, and that choke point that Capra and company have already held to the south of Mirage à Trois. So FaZe getting pinged by the squad in front of them. I want to know how they're going to be able to make these rotates.
Let's go.
This is an area we've been seeing a lot of action in lately as well. We saw tons of fights taking place here yesterday for NA. FaZe now moving up to this building, seeing if they can maybe get some damage down on the squad on the tracks that's trying to pop some shots in their direction. FaZe just needs to be smart about this push in, okay? They have enough space right now that they do have a few options, but the longer they take to make those decisions, the rougher spot they might be in. Everybody obviously really anticipating where this zone's going to be shifting right now, and FaZe being on this specific portion of the edge that they're in is relatively safe.
Up we go to the skies, but where will we land with so many of the buildings already in thermal station taken up? What are they going to try to scan out here with a Valkyrie passive? They see that the buildings below them have already been taken up, but they're still going to land on the outside of it. They're going to share this building, but they're in the line of sight. How is this upstairs area not taken up? There's spikes, but that's not going to even be enough.
I do not know how they just snuck right in that corner. It will not go unpunished, though, as there is lots of chaos being dumped right onto FaZe by Sentinels, another team that we talked about at the top of the show, a team that I anticipate not only actually picking up, but needing to pick it up if they want to continue and solidifying their spot when it comes to playoffs. Now we've got both of these teams occupying this space, and this could potentially end up being a big fight. But speaking of big fights, 100 Thieves, a team that did phenomenally yesterday, finding themselves in a bit of engagement here. Already Vaxlon is down.
Amu trying to reset right now. Tier 2 avoids that thermite, gets the res with the gold knockdown. What a clutch moment here for Anmu. Scurry falls incredibly low, but he's doing his best to give some suppressed fire, because on the other side, that's Team Diverge, but they can't fully send it because it's just Sleepy Panda who's oh, he gets canceled out of the Seer tag. Are you kidding me? You talk about why I have my issues with Seer. I'm sure everybody understands, but man, does that have to feel a type of way when you're literally making a gameplay move for the rest of your team to survive.
100 Thieves doing a good job getting themselves reset and repositioned here. You can see Optic just below them. 100 Thieves here with the zone at their backs as well, as everyone takes a moment to just breathe and reassess the situation. Anmu on that off angle right now. Charge rifle shots coming in too from across the way. This is a little bit of a standoff for these two squads. Nobody really wants to force this, knowing that there are a couple teams looking at them from off in the distance.
I like this spot's energy. Let's go.
I like the wraparound right now from 100 Thieves. And I like how you pointed out, Glitter. Despite Optic sharing that little slight low ground right next to 100 Thieves, nobody wants to engage because exactly that, 100 Thieves is in the line of sight of all the other teams that are already in thermal. We know that there's somebody already on the high ground, the sniper tower. TSM is sharing that space right underneath. But the moment you drop down, you're giving up that space for another team to take up on the high ground. Noxious in a lot of trouble. Their backs pinned against the wall of this next circle. And look who's waiting for them on the rotation. It's drug-free, and they're positioned nicely. But once they get involved in this next circle, you already know there's going to be another team waiting for them in that choke point.
Maybe this is the recovery that Drug-Free needed after yesterday. We talked about the potential fight here between Optic and 100 Thieves. Looks like Optic is making that push up and forcing the Dark Veil out. Theirs goes down as well as they try to continue this chase on 100 Thieves. 100 Thieves backing off, though, not really wanting to get into this too much. Let's jump in with Optic Gaming, though, and see what's going on through their comms for a listen, and presented by WD Black.
Have this corner here on this rock. We have this whole
I'm
rock.
coming to you guys. They might have Cyril and I don't.
They might have backed up.
I'm gonna queue them. They're all back there. They're all back
Careful
there.
of height, Brittany. I don't have wall to swing them. Here, take this drop.
Ultimate accelerant here.
Is it a duo, maybe?
I have 2 ultic cells. I'm popping 2 ultic cells. It might be. It might be, yes.
We only saw 2 when we flew in.
Just
Yeah.
hold for me while I pop these. You need to be staring at this.
I'm staring. We can rotate back out into the open on this one.
Nah, it's
too.
3. It's 3. It's 3.
Okay. I'm dodging
That? Yeah, I dodged it.
Spotted a zip line over.
I mean, don't they have Valk?
They should just play that side and
we can go back to our old spot on this next zone.
Yeah.
The rock?
Yes, my ping is
Should we just take?
All right, we had to jump out of that because the fight we were anticipating between FaZe and Sentinels, Vicky, it is all kicking off right now, and things are about to get a little bit rough. Sentinels looking very comfortable right now, getting some damage down onto FaZe.
Keon playing this like it's a horror story, and Rambo has other plans for Snipe Down. Huge with the trade for trade. Sentinels only have a Keon up and left and alive, playing right beside the knockdown shields. This is insane. The 1v1 through the knockdown shields. Can he get the crack? That's the question. Keon has the health advantage, but can he play through the knockdown? He gets cracks. He finishes them off, but that's still not enough. There's still that one player alive in the corner.
I am so stressed right now. I cannot believe that the knockdown shield
No
just
way.
absolutely saved Phony's life for a little bit there, but in the end, it's Keanu clutches up, not only finishing out the fight. No! And then gets
That's what you get for not letting me put my portal, says Sleepy Panda as he walks away without being able to get his teammates. Now he gets griefed by Team Diverge on the high ground, one after another as they fall down like dominoes. It was just a matter of time, and this is why, Glitter, this is why it is so important for these thermal station circles to get there first, because then you're just put into everybody's line of sight when you have to traverse through that lava.
I'm stressed yet again, and now we check back in with 100 Thieves, who have not only made their way away from Optic Gaming in that fight, but now found a spot to hold closer inside of Thermal. They do have LTC directly below them, so a team they're going to be keeping their eyes on, but so many other teams have also already occupied the building surrounding them. NRG being a team that also is starting to nail down some space. We see TSM popping up in the kill feed, and everyone is just dropping like flies.
I like this look from NRG. They also predicted this amazingly. Optic trying to get the reset after coming out on top of that fight. So many teams have fallen in that next circle. LTC still alive. Meat Lovers only has fun up and alive too. TSM, you mentioned, they've been popping off in the kill feed. But we talk about some of these squads, Glitter. Optic Gaming being one of those louder squads right now for this first game. And even looking at the weapon loadouts that they got rocking. The gold R9, I mean, talk about Chef's Kiss.
And the team that they just took out was Lanimals, a team that we were looking at to be pretty comfortable in this zone due to it being their drop. So Optic has just been really, really solid at rotating in at the right times and taking out the squads in front of them or disengaging when necessary, specifically talking about the time that they were trying to take that fight with 100 Thieves and both squads decided to back off. Now NRG here trying to break in on the Caustic and seeing if they can grab some space here. You know CLG is not going to be excited about that.
They could do it right now. Mamba only has those small shield cells to reset too, but he's bunkered down inside of this building. They're fine here, but they're gonna have to start moving soon in that next circle. Yeah, they're safe currently right now on this little sliver of a corner of this building, but we know that that circle is gonna continuously pulling towards that south side that they have to exit eventually.
Oh, this is going to be chaotic here. All of these teams trying to at least clear out the areas directly near them, so when that push, the mass exodus happens, they at least know the surrounding area is safe, but there is just too much action going on right now. You can see Optic, LTC, 100 Thieves have somehow managed to get the high ground again and keep themselves away from everyone because Optic currently has LTC in their sights.
What is with those spikes on that mobile respawn? I mean, if it wasn't tempting enough, I definitely don't want to touch that anytime soon with all the spikes right there. But look at the way that these teams are sharing this side of Thermal. LTC behind one side of the pipes. You have the other team on the high ground. Optic Gaming on the other side. That's like 4 teams alone sharing that one section. And TSM's about to have to rotate in their line of sight while avoiding CLG on the right.
The enemy's on me.
CLG and NRG will be over there, so that's going to be a rough spot for those teams to push out of depending on their timing. TSM definitely looking that way, making sure they're paying attention to what could potentially be coming in from the side. And then if I'm not mistaken, we also have, what, AJC over there too in this cluster with everybody. So this is going to become, I think, a battle of whoever still has their kit available at the perfect time when someone makes that first move. And we can see that happening off in the distance. MLS dropping down from the high ground position straight onto TSM, who finds themselves having to fight this off now.
They fight this off, though. I'm worried about the squad off to the right, but thankfully with that catalyst wall and the change that we've been seeing change up here for TSM, they clean up MLS without having to use their own catalyst wall. That's huge. Saving that was big for them because this is what's going to help them in this rotation, especially with the Seer ults coming up. 100 Thieves are on the high ground, but they still have 3 other teams underneath them. Meanwhile, CLG's cleaning up NRG that was underneath their building.
There were lots of trades there too. That's going to be a rough position that CLG find themselves in, which means TSM's going to push in, instantly clean that up, wipe them off that side of the zone, and TSM now all of a sudden find themselves in a much safer position, nowhere near the rest of the fights that need to be happening. As 100 Thieves drop down, Optic Gaming is now eliminated. It seems that it's down to 100 Thieves, LTC, and TSM.
Shoot the diamonds. Just shoot the diamonds, boys. That's what the comm sounded like for 100 Thieves just yesterday.
Oh, AJC.
Very simple and clean. But yeah, AJC's on the other side right now. They have to start moving forward.
I couldn't see if it was LTC or AJC. It's AJC that ends up holding that low ground and surviving the entire time. TSM, though, absolutely melting 100 Thieves, and all that is going to be left between them and this victory is a few more KP, and talk about a team that needs it.
Wake up, honey. We got the TSM doc that just dropped about the CEO, and they were not satisfied with their week 1 performance. They're here. How is not? Burrows and Reps still trying to find different angles, but with Burrows being on the back, he can get on the other side. Nice beamage from Reps, and with the charge rifle, it's going to be the nail in the coffin right here. They clean up the rest of the competition, and TSM take game number 1.
Listen, this is something that I think a lot of people could have seen coming. TSM is a squad that if they are playing from behind tends to do typically well the next time around when we see them. Starting off the day with the win, I mean, they looked so much better. We knew that the first weekend was going to be rough for a lot of our team, Stiff.
Look, Raven was streaming this week, and I dropped by his stream, and I was like, hey, is TSM in Bankai training the past week and a half? And for my anime fans out there, you guys completely understand. You know exactly what I'm talking about here. We were expecting them to fully unleash the Bankai today, and they come away with a map 1 victory, and I couldn't be more excited to see that because the hard work, the training, it's clearly paying off. And look, I called it out. The moment I saw Hal back on Catalyst, we saw this happen the moment Aurora was testing with it. And a lot of our North American teams were like, is Catalyst something? And it was Hal who was originally the person that was testing it out for TSM. And whoo, boy, is it paying off.
I mean, love not only that, but we talked about some of these other teams that we were potentially anticipating or hoping to see in a top spot. We saw 100 Thieves there finding themselves in a top 3 position and being consistent yet again, especially after their performance coming through from yesterday. And then we saw some of the teams picking it up that needed to get some points on the board. And this is just the trend for today. I'm convinced of it. We had AJC in those final moments. We saw LTC down there, and we had that early game aggression, Vicky.
Yeah, when your team is currently listed as 21st in the overall standings in an entire region, you want to change things up. Obviously, what didn't work last week is now helping them out for game number 1, but that was just game number 1. Seeing how on the Catalyst is interesting. How is that going to play out into his comps and how he's going to try to make the move and rotation for the rest of his squad? We saw right there at the end what holding onto that Catalyst wall did for TSM and what even allowed them to go in for a third party on the CLG versus NRG fight after they came out on top when MSL dropped down from the sky. So I want to see, or rather MLS, so I want to see what TSM is going to be able to work with this Catalyst because it's obviously working already.
Hey, so many questions to be answered, and so far we got one of them. TSM, they're coming back with vengeance today here, and that rematch is Group A versus B. We're going to send Glitter to a quick break, and I'm going to steal Vicky for map number 2, and we're going to break down a little bit of the action that we witnessed there in match number 1, and I think that's a really good point that you brought up, especially with Hal being kind of the shot caller for TSM in particular, putting themselves on Catalyst. Catalyst now, we know she can be used defensively to kind of bunker down the doors. We know she can kind of pair up that Dark Veil for those aggressive pushes, and Hal likes to get in on the action. I mean, Hal, the former Wraith main from back in the day, loves to really extend out and get in the action, and I feel like Big E needs that, right? He needs another person while Reps needs to shine, kind of anchoring down the fort.
Yeah, it's a back and forth that we've seen from this squad forever now, and seeing a lot of these other teams now really come in. Optic Gaming came out cleanly wiping a squad from the low ground. We saw a lot of back and forth between Sentinels and FaZe. FaZe dropping down though, despite having the advantage at first. It was Keon from Sentinels that popped off. Then Sleepy Panda had other words after being the solo for their squad. Rotating away was so much of these squads that were here from the very beginning. In that moment, that Catalyst wall meant so much for TSM because it prevented NRG from not only trying to greet them, but it also allowed the engagement from the CLG fight to come in and allow TSM to clean up the rest of what was left from that previous fight.
Oh, sweet, going off with the hipfire from the flatline. I know there were some nerfs to hipfire on ARs, but the flatline still kind of reigned supreme in the AR choice for me for hipfiring, and it just looked really nice. Unfortunately, they're going to fall there, and TSM really start positioning themselves to take the lead. They digi threats, Reps answering well, like everything was played to perfection, and something that you guys called out in the game, it was all about rotating into thermal station early, setting up shop, getting kind of your end game situated, and TSM was one of the first teams that actually rotated into thermal station from what I saw.
Yeah, leaving Lava Siphon and wasting no time. We saw other teams try to do the same thing. AJC, after coming out of their win in the 50-50 versus CCE, they immediately took to the skies after getting the loot that they needed, and they were already met with a contention off of their congestion point that they wanted to hold in. In that congested point, a lot of teams wanted to figure out a way to rotate to the south to thermal, but when most of the final circles force you to traverse through that lava, that's why you see these teams go quick with the rotation, especially with circles like that. You don't want to risk getting called out with a late skyward dive.
Yeah, they're really tough. It is one of the hardest ones to play, in my opinion. But let's go ahead and look at the results from match number 1 and see just how they fared. TSM was able to pick up 9 eliminations, coupled with a first place finish for 21 points. But then you look to the likes of AJC, 13 points, 100 Thieves. Hey, the consistency, they're carrying that momentum forward from their match day yesterday, finding 11 points there. But you have to look at teams like Optic Gaming, NRG. Yeah, maybe they didn't finish as high as they would have liked to in the placement, but they coupled that each with 7 eliminations, and that's pretty disgusting. 12 and 10 points alike.
Yeah, that's nice to see from Optic because they've had a pretty rough start on World's Edge where they find more success on Storm Point. Here they are, though, having a pretty good game on World's Edge. CLG, we saw them right next to NRG. MLS dropped down on TSM. Now taking a look at the second page of what this first match brought in for us. Seeing complexity there. Team Diverge, we saw Sleeping Panda as the lone warrior trying to get away after he was trying to portal his teammates away to safety before he got hit with that Seer tactical. Sentinels still stay on the other side, as well as FaZe, actually, not having the strongest game within their first start here for day 4.
Yeah, but I mean, it is only just the beginning, Vicky. It was just map number 1, and there are so many questions to be answered. But we're going to cut to a quick break, and when we come back, map number 2.
WD Black, the official storage partner of the Apex Legends Global Series.
Welcome back, everyone. I told you it was going to be a quick break, and we are back just like that. Spider Tiff and Vicky Kitty are going to be bringing you all the action here for map number 2. Glitter's going to take a little bit of a break, and what is it, Spider Kitty? Is that what we were saying last time, Vicky? Someone was saying Spider Kitty?
I don't know if I like that one, but you know what? We are out here and we are on World's Edge.
Right.
No spiders are. Yeah, you remember that? I remember that.
Yeah, dude, someone called us a freaking creature. I was like, what is happening? But we wanted to get in on the action fast because we knew this contest was happening over at Countdown. It's going to be AJC and CCE going in hot, and AJC already with the numbers advantage. You've got Capra, Orioles, and Boat that are looking to seal the deal, and just like that, CCE is down and dusted.
CCE keeps getting bullied in these 50-50s, and this is going to keep happening, Tiff. I don't think this is going to stop unless they want to try to contest on the other side of Countdown. Maybe an option out here, but it is the fight for all the good loot that's inside this middle hole right here of Countdown that you activate through one of the screens on each end of Countdown. But AJC comes out on top, and the individual players on this team are such insanely talented fraggers. So it's going to be scary to figure out what CCE's got in store for us, and talk about leaving the POI with some great loot too, because now you also get to exit with 2 purple evos. And taking a look at the overhead map, we got a circle pooling towards the epicenter fragment west area. This is going to be interesting because you won't be having as quick rotations as we saw in the last circle in Thermal Station.
Dude, we're gonna get a frags ending potential potentially, and we kind of had one of these in the EMEA broadcast earlier, albeit it was more towards that frag west. It had one building with the kind of overarching high ground from the epicenter. So it's going to be really tough to see where you're going to position yourself early. You look at Overlook, they already have that ring console there. They could hit that, begin their rotation. They know they don't have to go far. There's a ring console for Climatizer as well, so FaZe will have that information. TSM looking to get through the chokehold early and set up shop. They just need to make sure that if they're going to early rotate and take one of the buildings, specifically with that survey beacon, Reps is going to be able to get that scan at least once to have that information. But I think you brought up some really good points. We were talking about CCE. Now, granted, last match day, Groups A versus B, CCE was actually contesting FaZe and Climatizer, and they elected to take on AJC and try to create dominance there. It's not necessarily working. Team Diverge no longer contesting Drug Free, and so Meat left Dome, went to Fragment East, you know, split that with Dark Zero. So a lot of different changes. As you bring up the good point, it's always good to fight for your drop spot POI. Hopefully you find something that works, but CLG absolutely getting ripped up by the Sentinels as they try to make their rotation in.
RKN showing what a problem the Spitfire still remains to be after not having to reload and loading this entire clip with this blue extended light mag. They got that knock on the player, and they also have information that there is a gold knockdown shield waiting for them on the other side, but it's about getting there first before another team gets involved here, since they're trying to duke it out from so far away.
Ooh, I hear a Nemesis, and I see RKN's health going down dramatically fast. And you talk about Sheila being your worst nightmare. I think the Nemesis might be mine. So very, very unfortunate.
Talking about the pick rates, talking about the Rampart that we're now seeing make its way into an NA. Sentinels is in trouble. RKN's gonna get res. No gold knockdown shield, but you get the grip with the Arc Stars. Even with the barricades on the door, it's not gonna help you out. You try to run for your life, but right behind you, you got another greedy player, and it's the rest of the team of TSM with their quick rotates, cleaning up Sentinels, going down in 19th. Gotta talk about the pick rates on the top here, because with Wraith making her way back into the meta, Bangalore still being on top, Watson also sneaking her way in, TSM have made some adjustments with Hal being on this Catalyst. The calls are probably going crazy real quick, not only when it comes to those Catalyst walls once he does have it online, but with the rotation options that they have, that wall does provide once they are engaging in a fight.
Yo, Hal probably said, Sen City? Nah, this is my city. They just took over that from the Sentinels, and they used the Dark Veil kind of to push up into it, and I really like that for them. You can see Reps is already hitting the ultimate accelerants, trying to get that Seer exhibit up and at him as soon as possible, because that's kind of the key to success, right? If you're going up in a fight, you want to make sure that, especially if it's isolated or it's a third party, you can use that exhibit for more information. But it's kind of a war of who has Seer ult, and can you force it out of the team that you're fighting and potentially destroy it, or make them burn it before you do.
I'm really happy you bring that up. That's usually why we were seeing so many cryptos in the lobby still spread out across different regions. Looking at APAC too, crypto also negates the Seer ult once it's unleashed first before an EMP comes out, but we don't really get to see that much crypto here in NA. NRG also a team that likes to take their time, but they like to predict where that final circle is going to be pulling, but it's about the opportunity that arises for them. You see Sweet with the purple Evo, but they're sharing this space with two other teams in Fragment East. I specifically really like the positioning from TSM, but for how long are they safe here before a team wraps up behind them and puts them in a pinch situation, which is going to enable the squads exiting out of Fragment East to get involved in that fight?
I think that's a really solid point. You think to like what is potentially Godspot for that end game, and yes, it could be Godspot, but as teams look to fight for Godspot, sometimes taking a position too early can be detrimental to your success as well. But yeah, I mean, it seems as if that Bankai training, no pun intended or anything, like really paid off. I'm enjoying what I'm seeing thus far. The two purples, the blue, they have flipped over a new leaf, and you have to think, coming off winning Split 1 playoffs and going back into Split 2 Pro League and not necessarily getting that strong start that would be expected of that team. A lot of people, I'm sure Hal himself, have such incredibly high standards for their performance, and you have to be realizing like that's not living up to their standards. So today is that course of action, but Another team, Vicky, that I want to talk about that I thought was going to have some really solid expectations coming into Split 2 is going to be LAN. Lanimals in particular. As we see them hit their rotation, they're trying to jump over this team. They're gonna kind of be peppered, but no real shots connecting. As you can see, most of the damage they have is just from the ring as they're looking to take a pretty extensive rotation over here through Skyhook.
I like how you highlight this team because they've also made some adjustments, leaving out of their lackluster performance in week 1. This is the team, and I believe it was day 2, where they started to find their stride, kind of. You kind of put it on the border in Stormpoint. Now changing things up, they want to replicate that on World's Edge. Drug Free basically having the opposite problem that we've highlighted already before, but they are looking great in terms of loot. Double gold Evo. They got Sura with the red Evo already. Probably exiting out after using a replicator because this team has no issue taking their time to rotate into that next circle. But wondering how they're going to make this next move after rotating now into the Fragment West area, because we could see that a lot of teams that like to rotate to the north side of the map are going to start finding some sort of contention through Epicenter and could overlook some of the squads that are still rotating outside of Fragment West.
Very solid points. Drug Free on your screen right now, and last matchup between A versus B, Drug Free kind of started off with back-to-back wins in World's Edge and caught a lot of people's eyes and attention. They're going to smoke out that survey beacon and get a lot of that information. Now, it's very similar. I know, Vicky, you kind of mentioned it. It's that map room scan that you would see kind of back in Crypto's room on Kings Canyon, and it gives you that snapshot of where all the teams are. You can only scan it once per team right there, so they wouldn't be able to rescan that one again. And as we pull up the map overlook, this is kind of where we're going. Think of the teams that landed overlook, Sentinels in particular, already out of this lobby, and they would have had, you'd think, that drop spot POI advantage. They don't even have to rotate very far, but it's a matter of the team still making their way in. LAN and Skyhook. Drug Free just scanned the beacon and they're heading south. 100 Thieves finally trying to make their way through Fragment West.
Drug Free said hasta la vista as they take to the skies. They already got what they needed from that beacon. They saw that there was 100 Thieves in front of them, but with nobody stopping them in the sky, they're going to make their quick rotation to cut off these other squads. It's a tricky rotation that I was wondering how it was going to go for some of these teams, especially exiting out of the western choke points. I like this option to go and opt for the high ground because then they can just rotate through no name. But we definitely know with that Valkyrie passes that there's definitely squads rotating away from Lava Siphon that are probably going to meet up with Drug Free soon.
It begs to differ. I mean, they're in a sense mirroring 100 Thieves at this point. Yeah, they hit the Valk rotation and they might have jumped over them in just a smidge, but they were going to be walking in behind one after the other. So trying to take a little bit more southern approach as opposed to where 100 Thieves is going, I think it's relatively a good move for them. They want to make sure they can get over to Fragment East without really running into large resistance. You can see over on the left, you've got a Vexes. It's interesting, right? Because anytime you see, I believe yesterday they were playing against Rise. Of Vexes used to play with 2 members of Rise from the Pro League Split 2 qualifiers, and now they've ended up on different teams. So really interesting. It's like you are typically going up against someone that you might have played competitively with before, and I always think that's really fun.
Yes, just trying to pit them against each other. Play style that you already are used to versus another player that you kind of know how their thought process is and their rotations. I also want to say, I love how you highlighted what Sentinels does when they land an overlook in their quick rotation, and how TSM basically said, that's our train cart now. They fought for that train cart, and with their team composition, how being on this Catalyst now, this plays into their game plan well. We've seen the circle pull exactly where they're on top of, which is going to force the teams, if the circle doesn't pull towards no name, to funnel into the line of sight of TSM, where they could play off this little cliffside nicely to hold a head glitch. But again, it is the squads that will be rotating from the north side, exiting out of Epi, going through Overlook on the eastern side, exiting out of those big rocks where the Winter Express usually comes out of. That would be my concern for TSM and how they want to play the inside of this train car after they reinforce the doors.
My concern is, where is it going after this? We have had some really disgusting pulls, Vicky. We think the zone is going one way and then it completely shifts to the opposite direction, which is unfavoring of literally everyone. And Lanimals on your screen right now, heading up towards the bridge. Dark Veil already out. CRQ not necessarily going to connect aside from just one player, so they get a little bit of information. Goat Orioles and Capra on the other side. Quite an interesting 3v3 here, Vicky.
Zero going out, and there's still another squad in the distance, still taking shots at them from afar. Lanimal's taking this very passively, though, as they should. Of course, when you're rocking the Rampart, you need to have the time and space to set up those amp walls. See, Aberlily also just quickly with the reset, just having to pop that one small med. Tosses out the Arc Star, tries to take some shots, misses some of those flatline shots, but there's still a squad in the distance trying to take shots at them, too.
Look, I've seen some disgusting clips of Alberlelli on Rampart on the timeline, and, you know, we may see some reenactments here today, but I hear it, actually. Vicky, I hear it. I hear it right now.
The PTSD settling in. You hear it zooming through, but you also see the squad from a distance, which wouldn't be too surprised if that's FaZe. Looking at the way that they usually go for their rotate, probably on the other side right there trying to take some of those shots, since they do land in Climatizer. So what a better way to boost up your Evo shields than to try to shoot at this fight from afar without giving up your position.
Ooh, coming on over to Dark Zero. Currently trying to clean up. They've already got a knock onto Sorcerer. Totally full there as well, so they're just looting up a storm. But you know, it was really good getting that listening in the last time we saw A versus B meet up, and just listening to Dark Zero and the passion they had when they won that Storm Point match. I was really excited to see what it was going to look like coming back to A versus B with Dark Zero in particular, because dude, that was unlike anything. That was so hype.
Yeah, but not having the first game that they were expecting, and Asura already being the last one alive here for Drug Free could say the same. Crypto drone flying right above his head as he tries to take it down. He gets beamed. Meat Lovers now cleaning up what is left of Drug Free. And Nemesis just goes so crazy. He looked up and he just got deleted.
Tag Zainu and Funk. This has been a very interesting journey. We talk about a lot of our teams that might not have an org to represent, and Meat Lovers being one of them, and they've found like brief moments of success, and I feel like it's the consistency, right? We always ask for that with some of our teams, especially if maybe they don't have like the top tier names that we're used to seeing that are consistently at the top. But look at this building right here, just holding on to Fragment. You got 100 Thieves. Vaxlon looks to have dropped down from the roof and is trying to make an entryway. If anything is to be expected, that man has a PK in his hand, and looks like Scurry has the Rampage and a PK as well. So that just sounds like a very scary duo paired with that, and NRG is currently looking to take a fight with 100 Thieves. So let's jump into a quick listen-in presented by WD Black.
Someone just fell off the roof.
I'm over here by myself, I'm just letting you know. There's a cat queue on this doorway, by the way.
You guys might get aped, like play our fences like when I do portal.
Yeah. Peeking the staircase, peeking the staircase.
I shot on two of them. I cracked two almost.
I got one clipped in the back by a different team.
HP though. Give me the knock.
Holding. We're getting colluded on by 3 teams right now. 3 teams are colluding against us.
How did the arc just...
Wait, no. All right, guys. We just got colluded on by 3 different teams.
Wow, we are back, and Sweet is out here accusing the member of the teams and Fragment of collusion. Looks like Glitch Energy wanted to get in on the mix here with 100 Thieves. Ain't no party like a third party, Vicky.
I saw Nathan trying to poke around on the stairs, and I was like, okay, peekaboo. And then the other squad decided to push it on the top. That was Glitch Energy. That was a scary corner to be in this circle, because it was 100 Thieves, Glitch, and then NRG on the inside. Alley-oop comes up the Dark Veil, and with this rotation and nobody to shoot at them, they decided to beat 100 Thieves to the rotation. Poor Rat had no idea what was to come other than the 2 walls that just stood in front of him. That was too big of a wall to climb.
Honestly, one of the most horrifying things I've seen, and GE trying to take that upper height advantage on the rock, and you can see right now, Reed's able to grab the opening damage onto Onmu and Vaxlon, and just like that, 100 Thieves not going to be able to survive the rotation out of Fragment. So it begs to differ of, will they be able to keep on rotating themselves after drawing so much attention, and who's going to be on the other side?
Glitch is doing it, and so is Optic in the feed. They're popping up. They take care of Native, hiding underneath this rock, though, as a team that's trying to contest Glitch while Regis is trying to restabilize. Also saw a drill somewhere in the distance. That's probably Meat Lovers who are playing underneath that rock right there. You see that drill coming in once again, making sure nobody could reset. TSM have moved out of their own spot to try to take the high ground over CLG.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. This ring is looking to be really tough to play. A lot of the teams are gonna have to hold on to whatever cover they can find before making a play for that last ditch ever at FaZe. They're still one of the teams alive. We still have 10 squads. Look at this zone. FaZe on your screen, relatively healthy, relatively safe, trying to hold on to the high ground for as long as possible. And they just need to focus on their game because the absolute chaos that is happening there in the Elim feed. Look who's below them. CLG.
Oh, no.
TSM. Oh no, reps going incredibly low now, Vicky.
Oh, the spikes are the nail in the coffin. It's the finisher coming in. Snipedown says, hello, TSM. Hope you guys didn't miss me too much. FaZe is in such a good spot right now, too, on the high ground, but they're not in that next circle just yet. They have to drop down. They're going to be able to get some extra loot, but FaZe, let's break down their rotation. They land in Climatizer. They rotated towards the east side on the high ground that the rocks provided for them to take some poking shots at the squads that were exiting out of Epi. Now they could clean up the rest of the lobby who was forced outside of their rotation, because you talk about some disgusting circle pools, Tiff. Well, look at where the circle was pulling outside of No Name and now towards the under area of this hilltop that FaZe was holding in. Meat Lovers now getting involved with a very interesting composition with the Mad Maggie being out, Fun out here with the Wraith. They're cleaning up Glitch Energy. There was nowhere for them to hide now as they get involved in this Optic Gaming fight.
Yeah, I mean, there's no world that GE survives. Optic looking to drop down and prevent anyone from rotating in on them, but this needs to be quick because you have to think of all the teams that are going to have their back. Good shield swaps, and now it begs to differ. Where is Dark Zero? Here they are. Meat Lovers fully eliminated. They are just completely frying onto CLG, but they have the Caustic, Vicky, and that can be dangerous.
Actually huge out here too. Dark Zero, Optic Gaming, CLG now leaving only up to iShiny to come through. 5 squads left, and FaZe is frying everybody who's left underneath them. Look at Snipedown. He's got enough flight ammo to make the swap up off of the heavy ammo off this car. He's gonna do just that. He can also fly right back up if he needs. Trying to follow up though. They want to take advantage of the fight that's happening over here while the Moby gets called in. Optic Gaming's cleaning everything else up.
3 squads remaining. Knocked 7 elims, your lobby kill leader, but I don't think they're going to be able to reset from this phase. On the high ground, pushes immediately, and just like that, Optic Gaming is eliminated. We have a 3v3 fight, Dark Zero versus FaZe.
Having an episode of deja vu right now after what we saw after day number 1. We're seeing it go down again. Tiff. FaZe has the high ground. Dark Zero right below them. Where are you climbing? You can't get up there for free. Dark Zero lose out on 2, and there's only 1 more left for Dark Zero before FaZe takes game number 2.
Wow, just ending it with a nice, clean wingman shot. Talk about a well-executed 3v3 fight from FaZe. You heard Snipedown on the broadcast in that interview. This is one of the most dangerous versions of myself. I love to make sure that I am not counted out. And Glitter, welcome back. I can only imagine how you feel about that.
That was a phenomenal performance by FaZe. I mean, to be fair, the fact that we end up with DZ and FaZe as the final fight in that match is already incredibly cool, but I went back and I checked the stats really quickly, and I don't know if FaZe just needs like a game to warm up, but on day 1, they got 3rd in game number 2. On day 2, they won game number 2, and now we're on day 4, and they just won game number 2 again. So that's huge.
Consistency. Consistency is key here, Vicky, and I mean, look, that was so beautifully, like, we see the jetpack going up. They're trying to take high ground, and bro, FaZe was like, this is a no-fly zone. Glitter, this is those moments, right, where we sit here as casters, as people that get to work events like this, that is just so exciting. Those are the fights that I live for.
I mean, that was a treat to watch. You guys did a great job casting it, but it's also because that I think FaZe was maybe a question mark for people, just making sure with that new roster, is that because they had a strong first weekend, or is it something that's going to carry through the entire split? And now what we're seeing out of this roster, especially after we got to talk to Snipe Down yesterday, they are in it to win it. This is a solid team that people need to be afraid of.
I love that you kind of put it that way. People need to be afraid of it. And we think of the journey, right? Like Optic. Had they not taken so much damage on that initial fight previously before FaZe had walked over and been able to kind of clean that up, you saw at one point, I believe it was 10 eliminations, and they were trying to get the res off on 2. Optic Gaming has been one of the largest question marks since Split 1, right? It's been really tough. They've been trying to find their stride. They made a couple changes, and now, honestly, looking really good, Vicky.
Yeah, leaving out of Big Mod and Lava City, they have all the loot to work with, and they were fine. I think they left that game like with what, 11 KP or so as we take a look at some of these highlights. I like how you noted Optic Gaming because they were really strong in that final fight too. The catwall really helped them out as well, just get some extra cover to secure the KP that they needed. And of course, starting things off in game number 2 was very similarly to game number 1, was that 50-50 off the rip.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if they're going to maybe make a decision or make a change, or if they're going to keep running it. But it all started with so much action, and Dark Zero was kind of keeping an eye on a lot of these fights. Meat Lovers opening up really well, and every time I see people hip fire the Nemesis, I'm just like taking my notes and be like, why can't I make this happen? But Glitter, this push right here onto NRG and getting some of their comms, things got a little interesting.
There was just no way for NRG to get out of that. I mean, they were collapsed on from every single possible angle, and they couldn't do a whole lot about it. Shortly after that, both 100 Thieves and GE rotate away from that area, and this is where we start to get watch Optic Gaming pop up. I can't even talk because I'm so excited about it, but I'm glad that you brought them up because we did kind of call them out, not for doing poorly at all, but maybe just not for having the same stellar performances that we would assume because of how much talent exists on that roster. Well, Optic Gaming has come to play today. That is 2 games now where they've had phenomenal performances here for themselves, and they are looking incredibly strong.
Ooh, and this is one of the fights that kind of kicked it off, right? CLG versus Dark Zero down there, but it wasn't necessarily just those two in that fight. FaZe was always with them. They just kind of got some of their kills yoinked. I feel like Dark Zero was able to pick up some of the eliminations onto DZ or onto CLG as opposed to FaZe getting them, but holding that high ground and denying the fly zone there from the Valk, Vicky, just joy.
You're not allowed. No Valks allowed here on my cliff. FaZe came out, and again, I like to talk about these rotations because I always think it's so interesting to see how they are able to find this success, whether it be being patient and denying themselves loot early game to then loot up when they do find themselves in a fight mid to late game. But they did rotate from the north side of Climatizer all the way around. They're not contested. They're able to probe at some teams that were afar from them. We saw what happened to Lanimals when they tried to get involved. I think that FaZe played that so well, and I like how you again highlighted Optic Gaming because that was another team that was also quick on their rotations to get involved on the high ground.
Yeah, it's really tough. You think of the teams that are rotating from the southern kind of side of World's Edge, and anytime you have to push up to the north, you have all the choke points that you need to get through, and ring console information proves dividends. You can usually get that and kind of go for that call initially. I mean, TSM taking that really early rotation, moving straight in, taking out Sentinels early and denying them the chance to even try and play a zone that would have been favored for that overlooked drop spot. It's just a lot of different things, right? And I'd love to look at the final circle if we could, because I want to see it once again, potentially from a different POV, and let's see it. Let's see it. Glitter, I want you to kind of walk us through. I know you were lying in wait, so tell me about this.
Listen, I was just excited to see how this was going to play out because I feel like this was one of like those final tests for FaZe here, okay? They were able to navigate holding their position this entire time. It was calculated patience, and we started to see this a lot in some of our teams where we're like, okay, are they going to just be overly aggro? Are they going to int here? Are they going to maybe kind of rein it in just for a second and let everyone else do a lot of the heavy lifting for them? FaZe played this perfectly. Some really nice shots coming out of everybody on FaZe, and they just held this high ground while being able to have free damage, and it does not get any freer than this because once everybody had started getting picked off around them, the angles they had on the teams below were just too easy. Okay, and then at this point, could DZ have tried to bring it back? maybe, but FaZe was on such a tear that it didn't really matter what was left in anybody's kits, that I think that this one was always going to just end up going FaZe's way.
Completely agree. And this is where I was talking about Optic Gaming, right? They had just cleaned up MLS. They were looking to kind of reset and get the res off, but unfortunately FaZe was just too quick in their timing. They've been able to just dance around the high ground. Now you look at the push, right? And it kind of starts to look very similar to what we saw in EMEA earlier today. It was Ascend, right? They had the high ground on KCP, and it was like, what could they have potentially done? And honestly, I love that right there, but I don't think that utilizing the passive, the jetpacks there for Valk was the right move. You can see they had the Veil come up, but unfortunately it just wasn't enough. But match 2 results, FaZe, 9 eliminations with 12 placement points. Kind of fire there with 21 total points. Dark Zero, 15 points, but it's Optic Gaming. They were very nice. I thought it was 10 eliminations. Turns out they got 12 for a total of 19 points. So let's jump on over to the back half of the results. I'd be curious to see kind of 100 Thieves. Yes, they went out a little bit early, but still were able to pick up 3 eliminations, similar to AJC and Team Diverge as well. But NRG not able to get out of Fragment kind of cost them a little bit, and you heard the comms, so we'll just have to see it. NRG, I need you to run it back for me, all right? I think Nikki's doing a watch party somewhere and she's probably rooting for you, sweet, but I'm gonna throw it over to Glitter and Vicky because we got map number 3 coming your way.
The final time that we will be seeing these teams on World's Edge right now, Vicky, this is going to be good. And there were actually a lot of, not surprises, but I think maybe game-changing moments, specifically the fact that TSM was able to take out the likes of Sentinel really quickly. We actually didn't get a chance to take a look at those series results either. We're going to check those out before we hop into this match, just for a quick review of where everybody stands in those overall points right now. Optic Gaming at the top with 31, followed by TSM at 27. FaZe immediately behind that. I mean, we've got a really, really strong top 3 right now, but the points are close, Vicky.
Wow, that really does highlight what a performance Optic was sitting in with 12 KP and that 3rd place finish at the very end. You love to see it, because even though they weren't in that top 3, or rather they were in that top 3 in the last game, in that first game we saw what happened to them. I believe they finished with 7 KP, but still, it's that placement that they really want to secure out here on World's Edge. Sitting in number 1 in the overall standings, you love to see it. TSM right behind them after taking that dub in that first game with 27 points, and then FaZe right behind them after taking the dub in that second game with 22 points. What a pretty close top 3 we already have on our hands, Glitter, and we still have this final game on World's Edge.
Yeah, and we're getting a look at the zone right now. And as everybody is starting to make their decisions here, you know that NRG might be very happy about this one. The next zone should be coming in just a moment. And yeah, NRG feels really good about this.
Oh, they're loving this. After what we heard in the comms over in Fragment East, I don't blame Sweet for saying that too, especially with Glitch and 100 Thieves that could have sent it on each other. You look at the Watson team and they want to try to send it in and get involved in that fight instead. They saw NRG as that threat, and now here with this next circle, NRG is going to have a field day, leaving with the ring console being right there. They could try to get on top of the high ground, contest this team that's going to be leaving Mirage à Trois, but you can expect a lot of these other teams to get quick on it when it comes to these rotations for this next circle, because that choke point by Thermal Station is going to get contested.
Oh yeah, I mean, you can already see Sentinels making a very fast rotation over from Overlook, and a lot of these squads just trying to make sure that they get in there now, because this is the zone they should be familiar with. But Lanimals down in Thermal as they're making their rotation, finding themselves running into people now. Who are they against? CLG.
Oh no, not with the caustic.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, you could break down the doors, I guess, if you're looking at Albert lately. What? I feel like this is just payback on me, I guess, at some point, but it's the Rampart versus the caustic. You can see Lou already behind one of those amp walls on the other side, but it's interesting looking at these squads hold it down in these buildings as quickly as they can, because we have seen the circle pool actually on top of where CLG is right now, as well as Lanimals. That's why I was talking about the choke point that could be leaving out of Mirage à Trois, because usually with that choke point, you could take a 50-50 approach in terms of your rotation. Talking about quick rotations, at least, is TSM taking some shots with that G7. They were quick with leaving Lava Siphon, but they got some good loot while they were at it.
They have LTC in their sights right now, right on the edge of Harvester. You see CCE going for that skyward dive, trying to get away from that right now and get themselves a little bit closer to where they want to be as far as holding down some space, at least in on the edge.
Oh,
Taking
no.
a lot of damage, though, and one does go down.
That is not what you want to see in the middle of their skyward dive. At least they split up from the Valkyrie. But man, do those G7 shots not miss. That was crazy out here. They wanted to dip out of this confrontation with TSM. TSM is also getting pinged by a charge rifle in the distance, and then you can hear the skyward dive right above TSM fly by somewhere here. But LTC also playing off the low ground. TSM's not going to be moving from this spot anytime soon, but this is a good spot at least for them to contest the squads that are in the middle of this rotation, so that way they can secure some KP for themselves.
Now they've got DZ across the way as well. DZ checking out the team that's right in that Harvester building. So now they know that potentially they have to worry about LTC. TSM right in front of them, as you see TSM starting to make their own move away as well. Hopefully this doesn't cause too many problems, but you can got a bow check in the hands of Jen, and they decide that this is not what they want to be doing.
I like the idea to disengage of that approach when they were at originally on the high ground. They have the circle information. They were able to get that from the circle console. And Jen's got the bow check in his hand and the gold extended light mag. Really nice to see here in the hands of Jen, especially with the way that Dark Zero played that last game, getting second with 6 KP. They want to continuously try to stay as consistent as possible, being in the top 5 as they are right now after those 2 games. But wrapping around Landslide means that they're going to be approaching this next circle through the staging side. Maybe try to get through the choke point from Mirage Etoile. Try to get involved if there's going to be a circle beacon by staging. A lot of fighting happening already here by Harvester. Meat Lovers involved. There's a portal right in front of them. And unfortunately getting taken down from the flank side. It's going to be another team getting involved.
Okay, so it looks like Meat Lovers moved in towards where LTC was, and LTC are the ones that are doing some damage to them, but that's going to leave their backs wide open. LTC now getting knocked by TSM, who was just lying in wait for something like this to happen so they could get some free KP, and now LTC find themselves pinched between these 2 squads. TSM making a big push in on this, but they did lose Veralt. Are they going to be able to continue making this push inward?
They gotta get the shield swap. Reps is already on top of it. He gets the blue Evo. Yes, they lose out on Verhost, but they're moving over to the side. Slip and slide as he goes to swap up with the charge rifle. He doesn't get the hipfire shots that he needs because it's Sentinels with the timing on this 4th party. Everybody's invited. Everybody's here. And now Sentinels are feeling the burn from the other side.
Oh my, where did Sentinels come from? And they also lost 2 for deciding to get in on this, thinking it was probably going to be a little bit easier cleanup than it was. There's clearly more teams outside of Harvester. Now Keon's forced to disengage and leave both RKN and Rambo knocked and inside, not able to do a whole lot about that. Somehow LTC still up, and it's MLS who's now moved in to try to join this party.
Hello, where was your invite, MLS? I guess they invited themselves out here with the Seer ult helping them out to know where these other stragglers are. They're getting the information that they need to prevent anybody from running away, getting away, and getting into some cover. Look at this. Now Madness is going to be able to profit. Everybody here from MLS is going to be able to get all the loot that they need from these boxes.
There was a brief moment where I thought maybe Rambo was going to be able to crawl away to safety until they opened up that door. Honestly, and that is why some of these zones are so dangerous, because we saw that TSM was in the vicinity for quite some time. We knew that LTC was hiding in that Harvester building for a while, but as soon as one team came in, so many others collapsed, and that's why DZ's decision to back off was brilliant. But now they find themselves in a totally different engagement, already having lost 0, now 2 on DZ, trying to hold off. They will be able to stick this res and get a little bit of a recovery here, but had DZ decided to try and push any of those fights, they could have found themselves in the same situation as one of those 4 teams that just went down.
Oh my gosh, spikes everywhere. The grenade getting a knock. Jen doing his best to reinforce the door. Huge need from Chase here, but they gotta get through the reinforced door. They do just that, but they don't want to try to approach. It's the wall that goes up, and you talk about the third parties, and they are not stopping Glitter from Harvester all the way over to this no-name side north of Thermal Station. Glitch Energy in a lot of trouble too.
Glitch Energy trying to see if they can capitalize on all of the chaos that went down inside that building. You know Dark Zero's mad about that window, providing an opportunity for Glitch to get even a little bit of damage in on them. The Dark Veil inside providing a little bit of cover, but Glitch Energy's gonna keep peeking that door and just wait until they can finish cleaning up DZ. Right now you see the frag come through in the kill feed. Zero not in a great position, and Glitch is not backing up. They want to continue forcing DZ's hand if they can. Oh, they got out.
What? Oh, they got away. They could see another day. They also have Zero's banner here too. This is actually huge, but the rest just happened overhead, it sounded like right here. So another team trying to get their third involved in the Mirage à Trois area. This is actually crazy. Glitch also being able to walk away from that previous fight, exiting out of that door with so many teams congested up by staging. Energy obviously still in this. 18 squads left for the second ring to close.
The amount of chaos that just happened. We're looking on that top down. You see Complexity here on these tracks trying to give themselves a little bit of cover with that Dark Veil, back checking in with Dark Zero now. You see that DZ took out Chase in the kill feed, so they've been able to at least keep themselves healed up and defend whatever minimal positioning they have here. You noted that they do have the banner at least, so if there is an opportunity, they can try to go for that res, but right now they realize that there are so many people above them in the surrounding area that they need to really pick their moment to move and where to move perfectly if they want to somehow make it out of there as a duo.
That's going to be so hard to do to get that third back up too, especially since the mobile respawn was already used up by Mirage à Trois. They don't have a Moby in their pocket either. That's now on the ground since it went off from the rotating replicator for the weekly rotation. NRG, though, sweet with a nice nade inside, taking it off angle with a Nemesis, getting out of the line of sight of the squad that can hold the choke point right to his north. Love the positioning and the split positioning from the rest of NRG.
This is a similar area to where we watched NRG take a fight yesterday as well, and this time it is going significantly better for them. You can see that not only are those throwables working in their favor, but they're able to force people out of position and really get lots of damage down. Sweet barely making it out with that sliver of health there, but a successful fight for NRG onto Complexity, clearing out this space and getting the KP.
Sweet looking like a problem out here. Also saw Capra with the Nemesis as well in the feed, knocking another player. FaZe playing off the low ground of this bridge. And it's insane to see where this next circle is going to be pulling. Up on the high ground, close to staging, exactly where NRG is positioned. FaZe playing off the low ground only as a duo. They're not the only duo left in this lobby. Well, we had seen what go down with Dark Zero playing off that low ground originally and the rest of the squad rotating in. It's going to be so difficult to find this opportunity as a duo.
You know, we're seeing a few duos here, specifically with our top two from last time. You got FaZe and DZ, or they were. DZ was the duo. I don't know if they still are a duo at this point. And both of these teams trying to just do the best with the situation that they have been dealt. FaZe, though, has a solid spot right now. They have some vision on at least one enemy down below. Gathering that information for themselves right now. I was waiting for somebody to look at the bridge, though, and see if FaZe was down there. And now that they've been noticed, it could become a problem.
Man, that G7, it's ringing in their ears. I also want to note that I believe it's just a rat left for Dark Zero. I think it's only Jen that's alive. 100 Thieves just hiding in that corner right now. See the spikes at their feet currently with the squad playing right above them. If 100 Thieves is the squad that tries to take some shots at FaZe to their left, though, they could open themselves up to the squads that are across from them in staging. This next circle is going to be crazy. 10 seconds left for this circle to close up.
You see the 100 Thieves. Can see the people across from them. You see those tracers coming in. Someone trying to do damage while they all just cuddle up as far against that rock as they can possibly fit. Sentinels going for the skyward dive now.
They're alive. How are they alive?
I was just gonna say, were they the ones that actually got that res then that you had heard?
Yes,
No.
I think so. They just, the fact that they were able to get Rambo back up and he is flying with a dream and a Havoc right in front of 100 Thieves.
Oh, no.
Run away, Rambo, run with you and your 20 energy ammo on the Havoc.
Okay, Rambo does go down to native, but Sentinels still have 2 up, trying to see if they can just hide here for now. They've at least gotten themselves to a better spot in the zone, and while that's all happened, Lanimals eliminated, CCE eliminated. People starting to pop off here, but still 15 squads left alive, and they do not have Rambo's banner.
Is it even worth trying to get right now here too, especially in the
No.
position that you're stuck in at this point? He's got 20 energy ammo, I guess, if you're scrambling for crumbs, but what a tough situation for Sentinels to be in on this last game on World's Edge. They drop down. Looks like they could scoop it up real quick. We know what's extra tempting here, Glitter? That lovely care package in their line of sight, especially if they're struggling. But you're going to put yourself in line of sight of Optic Gaming. He drops the Evo real quick. Okay. RKN, he picks it up. I love this overhead right now because you can also see what's going on in the high ground here between NRG on the left side, FaZe on the right. What was in that care package? I'm out on the skirmisher road right now, so I can't scan that for you.
That could have been huge for them if it's going to give them a little bit additional loot that they need. You see NRG focusing across the way, watching a Wraith come across those tracks right now. They are trying to monitor a lot going on around them, but they have a great spot to be doing that right now. They have lots of information on the teams surrounding them, and they have been able to set up a nice amount of fences. And we talked about how useful Watson has been so far, now being brought or used more in this current meta.
That's what we were talking about at the very beginning of the pre-show with Tiff, about these legend comps that have been changing up. I like the adjustments. That's kind of what week 1 for ALGS usually is set up for. So we're seeing the change up from TSM2, seeing how on the Catalyst. Sweet also out here on the Wraith, has the portal ready, but they're not going to move from this spot at all. He does get pinged from afar, but this is a really good spot for Energy to be holding. As long as they don't get landed on. Looks at the overhead real quick, but they're not going to land on them right now. They just said landing on top of the team that has a high ground over that bridge.
Oh, MLS going for the Skyward Dive, realizing that lots of real estate's already been taken up by these teams, trying to find themselves somewhere safe to land. Not getting punished for landing there either. Nobody was looking their way until after they had landed, and now they're in trouble because once people notice, they realize there's not a whole lot of cover, and they're down to just Lux. Madness and Shuby both going down. He's going to be forced to go as low ground as possible, but people are still looking his way, and this is just going to be a desperate rat play for MLS. Didn't work.
It scraped his hair. You saw it right there, right whizzing past his ear, taking him out. MLS out of this lobby. Look at Sentinel still alive underneath the bridge. They're getting pinged over in the distance. The squad that's been holding the inside of staging, by the way, it's nice to know, is Optic Gaming. There's 3 squads all around the train bridge area between CLG, Sentinels, FaZe. This is actually crazy to see how this next circle is going to be moving for a lot of our teams. It's like FaZe is still right there. They're going to be able to try to scoop up some extra loot if they can, but Sentinels is not giving up that low ground here. Obviously, they have nowhere else to go. 100 Thieves right there, right beside CLG. See GE on the other side taking a nice split push, sharing that high ground with NRG on the other side.
I mean, look at the zone, though, Vicky. Right now, Optic's going to be forced to come out of their position. NRG has God spot. Everyone's going to have to come up to them, and they've got that little bit of height advantage over everyone who will be coming towards them. There's a couple teams on the tracks that might be okay, but right now, it's going to be tough to try to beat out NRG. But like you said, Glitch Energy is one of the teams that's at least close in that position, so let's jump on into a listen and see what they have to say.
Are they co-holding Dorito?
I don't know. There was someone like on the mountain behind them, which is just really weird. I don't know.
Came up,
Where?
You're alone.
In this.
Okay.
We're chilling.
Need to be super careful this climb up. It's gross.
Climbed up, left side.
Jump back down. Far right, Doritos out somewhere. Yeah, we kind of give up.
I'm watching it. Yeah, because they can just beam us. Like, you gotta play back, man.
You think we just try to kill this team with nades? How many nades do we have?
I have so many. I have so
you want me to
fucking
come
many.
over?
I think we just try to kill this team with nades.
Am I coming? I'm coming. I have no nades.
Careful. We can't do this.
Go back.
They might push us here.
No, it's fine. They're on screen.
Valk took space. Headshot her.
I'm popping a cell. You gotta watch the climb up, too.
I could wall so we could push the Valk.
No, I didn't. We need to play our truck. We need to play our truck over here. You're using my last bat. I only have one cell.
Watch above.
Do you have all?
Yeah.
Wall straight south in a line so we can play the left side of this. Good. Above us. Placing cell.
I'm watching your back.
No,
60.
Okay, I'm coming. Where are they?
In this.
We do it.
Okay.
When wall goes down, we're dead.
Yeah, I'm locking up on
I'm sliding up on it.
I hurt
Bang!
the fuck out of them. Big nade.
45 flash.
Oh, that nice.
No, I died to an arc. Hold mine. It might be just one.
It's just one.
You win that.
Win that shit, baby.
Find you.
Good.
Nice. Don't res.
Okay, Vicky, we need to talk about that because not only was that a phenomenal push, they made the best of a bad situation, but that was the chillest comms I think we've ever heard. And they were like that yesterday too. It's just their style.
I feel like I just gotta listen into what ASMR Apex Legends Pro League would sound like in a segment out here. Meanwhile, they also clutched out getting fourth with a lot of KP. I like the calls being made in that listening. NRG Sweet now moving on over to the side. They have the high ground over CLG. Looking for an opportunity out here. It's CLG, NRG, and FaZe still alive with just Frex being the rat.
Listen, I said it earlier, Energy had that god spot with the way that everything was playing out. Nobody could really push up safely to kind of take them off of it either, and now they're able to play this high ground and just continue to look down at CLG and get that damage done. But a massive push comes out of Mamba, and they actually lose Nathan. NRG now Gill down. Sweet, the last one alive here to try and close this out for the squad. CLG backing off for a second here. Nano getting a bit of a bat off. Directly below Sweet. Shiny also still alive for CLG, and Sweet is on the rock and cannot hold them off. NRG go down. CLG will be closing this one out.
Are you kidding me? Oh, and they're looking for him. Okay, he's gone. CLG are the winners of our final game on World's Edge. What a fight for CLG to take while NRG had the slight high ground over them. That was huge. Let's not forget, this is still the same team. The only team that is using the caustic in this team composition.
Listen, that big boy got on top of the rock and he said, "Not today, Vicky. I know you are not a fan, but that was a massive play on behalf of CLG, on behalf of Mamba, Tiff. They clutched that."
Look, I was waiting for Sweet to start the rumbling from the top. I was just like, bro is about to cue the like anime intro music and it was going to be really aggressive. And unfortunately, as soon as I saw Nathan drop and I was like, it's not going to happen. Congrats to CLG. But more importantly, during that listen-in, GE electing to take that fight on the trailer, yes, you're kind of throwing your placement, right? And I think they understood that because they knew that no matter if they stayed where they were, once the Dark Veil dropped, they were going to essentially kind of go out there. So they were like, let's take this fight, maybe see if we can go out and get some KP in the distance. And I think that fight was well executed and they did what they wanted to do.
Yeah, that's when we were talking about them, you know, we were saying that they made the best of a bad situation because they did exactly what you're talking about. They had to go for points at that point. The most likely guaranteed points was a fight that they could take to the squad that was inside of that train car. I mean, it was interesting to see, though, because we mentioned it, Tiff. They were just so calm, cool, and collected about the entire thing, even when everything started to kick off.
Am I coming? Okay, I'm coming. I'm gonna make my way over there. And then it's like, wait, where are they? okay, I'm coming. And I was like, look, that's totally fine. You just gotta get in there, make sure that you can get to where the fight's gonna be. But I will say, dropping around and going into the zone for the back end of the train cart, it looked like it was going to be the right move until homie stepped on like 5 different death boxes and didn't necessarily clear it as smoothly as I thought it was gonna be. And then it was really interesting because the team decided to wrap around on him as well. But I mean, they were able to pull it out. And Vicky, like, we start off at the very beginning and we think of, you know, how are these contests going to look? At that point, I'm thinking that CCE is like, we're no longer contesting. As we actually get to pull up the match highlights, kind of start off strong. MLS on your screen. I mean, a lot of G7 Scout and charge rifles here.
I'm a big G7 enjoyer. Charge rifles, we already know our thoughts on the charge rifle out here, but it is the Evil Shield Charger enjoyer. TSM, they got involved in this fight, but they felt early because we didn't see the third party going. We didn't see the fourth party. We saw the fifth party roll in for this fight. It was super chaotic at the very end. We even saw some unfinished duos walk away, get the res. Sentinels was in trouble from the very beginning because of that fight there too. Dark Zero, another team that actually ended up on losing one of their players earlier on in this game, but it was a lot of unfinished squads that were making their way into this very chaotic final circle where Energy, they land here. This is their home, so they were able to get on top of the high ground relatively early after looting the rest of staging.
Bro, that clip right there, just kind of doubling down and just finishing him off with the Prowler. It's like, it seems as if the Prowler is a staple for everyone's loadout. If you're not running the Prowler, typically it's that R9 and maybe dabbling with the car SMG. I'm gonna have to look at the stats after today's broadcast to see just how many people have been utilizing which weapons and which are kind of making that staple. But Glitch Energy, it seems when they kind of set up shop here, they were working their way towards the teams that were in these carts from the get-go. And 100 Thieves, it's a shame that they weren't able to hold on to this glitter.
Yeah, I mean, we saw them try to kind of like turtle up for a little bit, see if they could go unnoticed, but it went on for so long to the point when they had to pop out, it was just a little bit bad timing. And this is the moment you were talking about here, Tiff. The wraparound on the back end of the train car, it got a little bit messy there at the end. There was just too many teams that had looked down at Glitch Energy when they made that push in, waiting for the Dark Veil to drop, waiting for the opportunity to do that damage. Obviously, NRG being one of them. And then these are those final moments where CLG was able to take down NRG. I'm not gonna lie, I did not anticipate that happening.
Yeah, congratulations to CLG for walking away with a map 3 victory, and in style, by the way. 12 placement points coupled with 12 eliminations equals 24 points. Not bad at all for a map. And I feel like CLG has kind of always been right there, waiting to break through. And now that they're not necessarily getting contested by Native and Harvester, I feel like they're able to actually play their game because their rotations aren't necessarily getting held up. And it's proving to show out really nicely here now that A versus B is meeting up again. But FaZe, NRG, Glitch Energy, all of them being incredibly consistent. Let's jump on over to page 2 and see kind of who necessarily didn't get there. Dark Zero, 4 eliminations for them for 5 total points, but not necessarily coupling it with placement points. Lanimals, Complexity, LTC Esports. McLovin, my man, where are you at? I want to see LTC Esports pop off. Let's hop on over to the series results though, Vicky, and see kind of what this had in effect.
Look, despite TSM dropping early in that game 3, they still took that game number 1 with a good amount of KP to their name, and they are still sitting in 4th overall. Looking at this overall leaderboard, though, we can't ignore Optic Gaming. That did go down before that final fight, but they were poking and being a thorn to everybody across staging from them. It was just a really difficult rotation for them once they had to exit out of the buildings and staging. And then highlighting CLG, that Nox grenade at the very end, it brings up the difference between late game Caustic and late game Catalyst for our controller legends that are opted to be used by the teams and what they feel comfortable with. In this case, CLG with Mamba being on the Caustic.
I feel like that's a really good discussion that I need to have at some point in my life because everyone has their complete own opinion on the controller legend class and technically what's going to work best for their own legend compositions per team, whether it's Caustic, whether it's Rampart. I mean, look, Lanimals, you got Alberlelli on Rampart. We saw Alliance and EMEA. Some other teams were looking to pick up Rampart as well. But Watson, all the rise. And it's been, you know, fun to see who is kind of going with it because we guys know controller legends, they can scan those those ring consoles, get you that information to help you with your rotations. So very important part, and I feel like we really need a good deep dive on it. But speaking of a deep dive, there is a team that I want to focus on, Glitter and Biggie. I feel like we need to kind of have this central moment where we get to look at one team in particular now that we've seen the first 3 games. And look, I'm not biased, I swear. It's NA. It has to be TSM, okay? We got to dive into this discussion because it looks like they may have came out swinging and overcome their demons, Vicky.
Yeah, when it comes to what they performed in week 1, we were expecting this team to come out swinging. You said that they were in the hyperbolic training chamber out here with Raven. Well, they came out with a different look. The Catalyst helping out TSM already off the rip that game 1 with 9 KP. But my question here is to both you and Glitter, can they keep this up going into Stormpoint? Can they replicate the same type of success that we saw on World's Edge despite going on early in game number 3? Can we see that happen again going on to Stormpoint?
I'm gonna go to you, Glitter, because I know we were talking about this like post-broadcast or pre-broadcast. So I asked you, I was like, will TSM find success today? And I want you to be honest.
I have some concerns, okay? That's the way I'm going to phrase it, because historically, TSM is a team where if they do poorly, then the next time we see them, they're coming back and they're absolutely smashing it. And that was the vibe we got in game number 1. But then post game number 1, their results have only declined, okay? Went from 1st to 9th to 20th. That is less than ideal for TSM. Maybe Stormpoint will be the switch up that they need, and that would be huge because they're at a really rough spot in the overall when we're talking about those points.
Yeah, it's tough. You think about kind of split 2 playoffs, Vicky, and I know we were chatting about this, and TSM found themselves very low on that overall series standing coming into today and needed a standout performance. And you think of some other teams, and TSM's one of those that really needed a top 5 finish today overall to kind of solidify that split 2 playoffs chance. Could you imagine a playoffs without TSM, Vicky?
No, I can't. I feel like they basically are already there after their first performance on playoffs because where TSM? Why aren't they here? They have to be here at this point. Even with the changeup, I'm still expecting TSM to turn things around because, I mean, this is a team that is very focus heavy on what they got to do differently. I got to take a look at the documentary highlighting Hal's journey as a pro player in IGL earlier today, actually, before we got started with day 4 of the ALGS. I totally recommend everybody to check it out because it provided a lot of insight to what goes on in the mental process of this team and how they work together. So look, they looked great in the first game. Map 2, they got wiped out for 9th by FaZe. We talked about how scary it was to play off the low ground in that circle. I didn't like being there super early, but it was a good call out because we've seen the circle pull specifically on top of that train cart. But then map 3, they got involved in a fight where they weren't expecting half the map to rotate towards Harvester, and they ended up in dead last. So how are they going to play Stormpoint? I think we're going to see things slow down a little bit, play more for final circle positioning.
Ooh, I really like that. And I love that. Shout out to the documentary because I saw you tweet it out and I immediately like flagged it for me to go watch after this. And I know that Verhulst has been really open in particular about things that you can do outside of just playing Apex in general to really boost your competitive nature. I think at one point it was eat healthy, work out, take cold showers. Did Big E take a cold shower today? Is that what happened for game number 1? Like we all have questions that we need answers to. So please update us on your health journey, you guys, because it's really important for our players not only to stay healthy inside and outside the game. Take care of yourself, okay? But hey, maybe you've gotten inspired by the kind of resurgence that TSM has had and today, and you want to test your hands at competitive Apex Legends. Well, look no further. Start in the Challenger Circuit. Registration ends on March 22nd. The tournament is going to start on March 25th. Huge shout out to some of my friends that have been really, really interested in Apex Legends comp lately, and I'm going to say it, Jen Liu, I'm looking for you. I know your registration is going through and we need more ladies in the Challenger Circuit. Sabs was popping off for Phoenix Legacy earlier on today in the EMEA region, but you know, we'll wait to see. But we're going to cut to a quick break, guys. When we come back, we're going to be hopping on over to Stormpoint. Can TSM keep up the momentum? I guess we'll wait to see.
WD Black, the official storage partner of the Apex Legends Global Series.
Welcome back, everyone. It is match day number 4 for ALGS. Right now, we're talking about North America, though. I'm SpiderTip, that's Glitter Explosion, and we have sent Mickey Kitty to the Shadow Realm just for map number 4. And I'm going to be taking over the action here with Glitter, and I couldn't be more excited. You were kind of talking about some of the things, right? Going on over to Storm Point for the latter half of the day. Let's go ahead and pull up kind of the history of where we've been. Match 1, taking that victory was TSM. Match number 2, that epic finale from FaZe, and then CLG taking map number 3. And it begs to differ. Can some of these teams find success on Storm Point, or will we see some other teams shine, Glitter?
You know, I'm hoping that we get a little bit of both. I want to see some, I mean, to be fair, CLG is kind of a surprise for us too. They handled that final fight incredibly, and they look really good right now. But moving on to Storm Point, it's always a little bit more chaotic. It opens up the opportunity for some of our teams that are also struggling a little bit to maybe get some points on the board, and we will continue talking about how important that is going to be. But it's also an opportunity for the likes of teams like TSM. I'm even looking at teams like Sentinels to get big point chunks on the board. And honestly, if it doesn't happen soon for some of the teams, it's going to start to spell disaster.
Ooh, and you know, some of the teams that had a lot of success last time these two groups met up against each other back on match day number 1, Dark Zero. They were the ones that maybe had a very lackluster World's Edge, and it seems as if they were able to pick up a little bit of momentum earlier today and then really could carry it forward. They had 2 wins on match day number 1 on Storm Point, and one of them most notably being map number 6, and we actually got to listen in on the broadcast to their comms throughout that end game sequence, and they had played that call to perfection. Glitter, I'm sure you got to see it. It was disgusting the way they were interacting with each other in a good way. Like when I say disgusting, I think of like, oh, that was so sick. I would love that. Like it was intense.
It was the scream, you know?
Yes.
That did it for me. The passion. Yes. Okay. I'm on board with that. I want to see that. Like every time. That's why we love the comm so much.
It is. It's probably one of my favorite parts. So anytime we can get something super exciting, I literally remember my eardrums being blown out, and I think it took a solid 4 days for them to recover. No, I'm just kidding. Please send it back. I think I rewatched that clip on Reddit like 15 times, but the time is now, Glitter. It is match number 4. We have to look to kind of what we're potentially going to be seeing for the contest, because that's where I start getting really excited. It's like, will we have any? I'm looking at the map right now, and I think we've got a drug-free versus AJC contest, because AJC is contesting both on World's Edge and Storm Point, and that was over at Mirage à Trois. If you think back to match day number 1, drug-free started off so incredibly strong over on World's Edge and just could not get things together on Storm Point. And a lot of that started with that 50-50 contest, and they both landed on Mirage à Trois. They duked it out in true 3v3 fashion.
And if we're talking about that 50-50 that could potentially happen, I mean, AJC has been doing well with those so far today, so they might be feeling extra confident because of that.
Ooh, I do like it. Be curious to see if they run it back. And honestly, I don't think they are. Look at FaZe taking Launchpad, though. Phony landing so much further south away from the team. And I was curious, yeah, he's going to hop in the whip. He wanted the Trident. I don't blame you. Look, sometimes those things are very critical to rotations here on Storm Point. And Glitter, we're not going to talk about yesterday's rotations with Trident.
No, I still can't get over yesterday, so we're just gonna pretend like it never happened. Every time I see somebody getting a Trident, I get a little bit nervous, but we've been good, okay, so far today, at least in EMEA. Now we'll have to see what NA can bring to the table. Hopefully it is as flawless as EMEA was when it comes to at least their driving ability here. As we can see also where the zone is on the map, pretty central, which will be a strong potential zone for FaZe, and with how they've been playing, this could give them a slight advantage that they didn't even need.
Look, all I know is I just hear charge rifle here. They're already pinging it. CLG's already pinging it over here in Stormcatcher. And I'm just like, stop it right now. No, I get it. It's nice, right? It's good for leveling up those Evo shields. You can utilize it for some information. You can just be a really big nuisance and kind of just get that opening damage. We see a lot of the teams that typically are the anchor position for their team, and they will run the charge rifle to grab some opening damage. And it's still, you know, I'm still working on it, but let's look at the kind of where we saw those ring consoles at. The wall, they had crafting and a ring console. So you think about that immediately. TSM is going to grab that information of where they need to get onto. They're going to start their rotation. The question is, where are they going? And will they choose a pattern that kind of has a survey beacon in the midst so they can also double down and get that? It looks like Thunderwatch also had crafting and a survey beacon. Lightning Rod had survey beacon and ring console information, and check that out. I mean, FaZe couldn't ask for more, Glitter.
That's what I was saying. I said it's a zone that could really favor FaZe right now, and that's exactly where it pulls. They are going to be quite comfortable in Launchpad right now. I mean, there's... Why? We were looking, okay, was it going to be TSM who could maybe get a strong game? Would it be someone from the bottom who needs it? We saw DZ making sure that they were making a super early push. They went towards the center of it and instantly realized where it's shifting. We see them moving. TSM already going for the Valk rotate, not wanting to risk anything. A lot of these teams are going to get in there early, especially knowing that on that side of the map, FaZe will be there. I think we can also see 100 Thieves making the rotation in the sky as well, and people are going to be battling it out for space.
Yeah, you think about 100 Thieves, right? They like to land command center. If they're going to Valk ult from command center, it can give them that extra height. But Meat Lover's already into a little bit of an engagement with Team Diverge. They're grabbing the opening knock on to GS Bird, and they're going to go for the full as well. So now a 3v2 situation. No need to necessarily push the item too far. You can focus on healing to the full ability. Tech only one with the white shield, or napkin, as Wig would say. Probably on a watch party nearby going blue, blue, blue. Napkin, napkin. No. It's stuck in my brain, Glitter.
Honestly, I'm here for it. It's truth, because that's about how much protection you're going to have in any sort of a serious engagement if you're stuck on a white armor right now. You can see Team Diverge still kind of hanging out in the wings, seeing if they can at least get the recovery here on that banner. A little bit of a protective arc star there. They are able to get the scoop and back off without any sort of punishment. So this could mean that they'll be able to get a reset and continue to at least play out this game.
I mean, I like that, right? If you're going to have a Wraith Legend, someone playing that, you have the tactical to fall back on. Of course, you're going to send your little squirrely Wraith up to rescue the banner. And if push comes to shove, you've got AJ kind of on the Bangalore, could smoke it out if you need to. And you could just like dodge around while you've got that slight delay in her queue until it kicks in, and then you can just run away. It's my favorite thing to do. I'd be dancing around ranked lobbies all day, but FaZe, I mean, look, the zone's coming to them. They don't have to do anything crazy. The only issue here with the zone pulling directly to you right off the rip is, yeah, Launchpad's got really great loot, but you're not going anywhere. So you don't necessarily get to fight to level up your shields or pick up attachments or maybe focus on, yeah, Launchpad's got crafting, but did you have enough time to go down there, get the materials, grab your mags, craft helmets? Like, everyone's moving so fast on Stormpoint to make sure they can get set up for that end game.
Yeah, resource management will definitely be a little bit rough. They're probably going to try and see if they can get an early pick that they can just use as a little bit of a loot farm. But unfortunately, there's so many strong teams around them. That'll be difficult for them to do. Glitch Energy, though, a team that we got to see some really, really solid pushes out of, making the best of a bad situation in the last match. And they've had individual pop-off performances quite a few times now. There's tons of promise from this squad, and I'm excited to see what they can do here on Stormpoint. They're pretty comfortably looted right now. I mean, at least 2 purple shields. They've got a lot of ammo for that Nemesis, and they have the crafter here at their disposal as well. And speaking of their performances, Reeds right now, you can see over there in the corner, 5th overall for kill leaders for match day 4.
Okay. All right. Look, Glitch Energy, they were the former BR Demons roster that we all knew and love for Split 1. So glad to see Glitch Energy kind of pick them up. They've been interesting to watch, per se. I've had in particular moments where I would watch their scrims back in the day and just kind of listen to the comms. And I will say that I feel like it's matured a lot. And it has to be because of the system that they've got in place. The Glitch Energy has brought those players so much structure in terms of getting a coach, you know, having all the information at their disposal. Because I feel like a lot of people don't realize that you bring on a team, they can help lift a lot of the heavy loading analysis work and kind of structure and kind of reapproaching everything. And you don't have to worry about a lot of that as a player. Like if you don't have a coach, you've got to practice and maybe keep everyone in line in the gym and make sure that people are, it's a lot of work, and my heart goes out to all the teams that are doing it all of themselves and still churning out good work. But look at this, Native, TSM. I mean, this would be a very interesting mid-game fight here.
TSM had gotten in pretty early as well, trying to nail down some space for them to hold. We saw Sentinels there on that slow side of the zone. They've also managed to hold some real estate for themselves, but TSM, if they can take out Native and at least clear them out from under them, that would be ideal. But right now, trying to decide how they want to play this. They obviously know that they're below them, but also don't want to force anything that could draw attention their way. They're already taking a few shots from across, and TSM is definitely going to be a little bit surrounded right now. Meat lovers now looking in at someone else.
I mean, look, Zainu, it's like, I always feel like somebody's... Yeah, dude, man is just looking for an angle. Anything, maybe any kind of information. But as we get that free cam shot, shout out to our observers, so we can kind of get the actual picture of what is happening. Zainu is pretty much in that building by himself, and he was just trying to find any angle. But when you see fences, like, you genuinely never know what to expect. And I really appreciate the thorough research that he just put in, trying to see, hey, where is someone going to be at? We can see the bang ultimate coming into picture. I mean, it's actually, we can see the rockets in the sky, bro. That's kind of gnarly, Glitter.
It's just a little scenic view here right now for the game. I think we might be dealing with another crash issue here, so we're just going to bring it back to us. We're hanging out again. Honestly, Tiff, I don't want to be the one to tell you this. We might be bad luck. I think it might be us. I think we're the problem.
I'm just going to take it. You know what? Honestly, I am a spider Tiff. I was looking at those trees, and I was thinking to myself, I could be a spider monkey one day. Yeet myself into those trees, Glitter. It was a really lovely view. If there's one thing I do have to say about Storm Point, it is a gorgeous map. Simply beautiful.
I agree. I'm glad that you said that, because I've thought that since the second that it came out.
It's actually really fun to play. Let me just tell you that much. But granted, guys, we're gonna get everything reset back up into it. Whew, because I mean, I'm thinking about it this way. FaZe might be a little sad though. That launch pad was looking nice. I was really excited for a launch pad zone.
I think what's important though is that we saw a lot of the teams that we were talking about being concerned with their point status, really honing in on making sure that they were getting a spot super early on. We watched how fast TSM made a move down there. We watched how fast Sentinels got down there. Sentinels has to go pretty far if you think about where Sentinels has to rotate in from. They still managed to make sure they went all the way down and around to get a spot in the zone. Obviously, FaZe didn't have to move, but we saw 100 Thieves coming in, and these are all heavy hitter squads. They got in there early, and they were going to do what they needed to do to ensure a successful game in that Storm Point match. And I think that that's going to be the theme that we're seeing, because we said, will some of these teams slow it down a little bit, play it super smart, make sure that they're making those right decisions? And I think that's the direction that we were headed in.
Yeah, and I think that's a really strong point, because especially moving on Storm Point from World's Edge, it begs to differ. A lot of these rotations can be very much accustomed to getting through certain choke points, and certain zones can be more meticulous than others. And I think that's a solid thing to look at. And honestly, while we sit here, we chat, there's another thing I want to bring up. I want to talk about Optic Gaming. Kill leaders in a sense, bro. They have been fragging out, in particular, Noct, finding so much success here. 15 eliminations alone for this team. Skittlecakes up on double digits as well with 10, and then dropped 3 eliminations. And I some people look at this and they're probably like, what is Drop doing? Bro, Dropped, I wouldn't be surprised if his damage was skyrocketing through the roof, because he's probably providing a lot of entry damage while Noct and Skittles are able to kind of focus on some of those moments, get those, or capitalize on the kills per se, Glitter.
Yeah, and I'm actually really glad that we get to talk about Optic, because they have been having a day. All right, even on the match, if you even want to call it not a great match where they finish in 7th, they still end up with 9 KP. They are putting up big kills every single time. The first 2 matches were phenomenal placements with a 4th place, a 3rd place, and then 7th place is truly not that bad. Optic is a team that we wanted to see a little bit more out of, and they completely dominated World's Edge. They've put themselves now at the top of our leaderboard for the day, and Storm Point can just be another opportunity for them to continue that snowball effect.
Ooh, so I love that you kind of mentioned that, right? We're talking about a lot of damage being done, but they're actually capitalizing on it. And I want to highlight another team that's actually got the most damage in the lobby of the series thus far. It's going to be NRG, because look, just because you can get the damage, you have to be able to capitalize on it. Nathan, 4 eliminations, Sweet 4 eliminations, and Guild 3. And it's really interesting because Nathan is one of 2 people here in the US that has broke that 1,000 kill threshold in ALGS. And that's a magnificent feat to be able to make that happen. As we go through some of their moments from today alone, and honestly, I feel like I saw in the lobby chat for the players, Sweet was just like, look, I just wanted to break out Wraith, Glitter.
I'm not even mad about it, okay? Like, why not? And when if we're talking about energy in the sense of them being a massive damage output team, that's just NRG doing NRG things. I mean, they are notorious for being able to slay out even in games where they might not have like a stellar performance. You'll see them finish in 5th, but they'll still have double-digit kills, and they are just so strong when it comes to those situations. Very rare is it a time where you see NRG not taking home the win like we saw against CLG. I think that was just like a big boy Caustic thing, you know?
Yeah, I find it really interesting, right? Because we just want them to capitalize on all the damage that they're being able to output. And I respect them for not fully inting, because sometimes it may not be a good fight. And I think back to kind of gearing up for Split 2, I was kind of dabbling, reaching out to some of the members of teams, whether it was their coaches, their analysts, because I feel like we as casters, we need to stay like apprised of what's going on in the situation. So I reached out to Sven at NRG, really highly regarded analyst. You probably seen him on Twitter constantly putting out the map updates like daily about where everyone is dropping. And he was like, look, we got some great upgrades on our World's Edge POI, but we're just ready to win. Like, we are confident, we're feeling good. And that just makes me happy, right? I also joined his Discord because let me just tell you, the knowledge that is being shared by a lot of these coaches. I know Sea Lion over at Fury, granted Fury is not playing today. Sea Lion streams as well, and he'll have streams where it's welcome to Sea Lion stream, where we learn about learning today. And I was like, I am ready to learn about learning. And it's just like actual master classes. I think the last one was about the ecology of Apex, and granted I was watching it on mobile, which I needed to be on desktop for that moment, but you can go back if you want to specifically learn. He's got his VODs up, and it's really interesting to kind of learn about what they're focusing on in particular as members of teams that are analysts and coaches, Glitter.
Yeah, I think people don't realize just how important all of that information really is. Obviously in game, we talk about how important information is. That's why people are trying to make sure they have those ring consoles and things like that, because the knowledge that you can get before some of the other teams can sometimes make or break your entire performance. But then when you take all of that outside of the game, throw it all into something legible that your teams can actually use, digest, and then inform their play style with, it is absolutely invaluable. It's why those analysts and those coaches are such an integral part to the teams. Even if they're not literally sitting down and playing the game, it is as important as the player itself.
I 100% agree. I mean, you think back to kind of, we were at London, and we got to witness kind of just some of the teams that did have coaches. And I know at one point XSET was kind of seated behind us. They had a really nice day yesterday, and you could see Hodzik just sitting behind them and having that moment there in LAN and just being able, we all know Hodzik X Pro just being able to bring in such valuable information. But I mean, that's just the thing. It just makes such a competitive difference, I think. In particular, look, I know back when I was a little athlete, back in my day, no longer, I play video games now. You want everyone on your team that you can possibly get to make sure that you are competing at that upper echelon of a level. But we're back in the dropship, Glitter. It is time. Map number 4. I'm just curious what kind of zone we're going to get.
We've got this now, all right? This is going to be it. And honestly, we are seeing a little bit of a different path here for our teams. Ooh. I know originally you had said that you wanted something to be down by Gale Station or Fish Farms because you are the agent of chaos, but at this point, I might be on board with that.
Look, I'm just looking at the wall right now. Crafting, ring console, hot zone. Very interesting flight path you're talking about. It is literally going from east to west, diagonally cutting out the majority of the northern side and kind of just pilfering around. Fish Farm's got a survey beacon. And will that zone load in potentially? Oh, ooh. Checkpoint NRG. I'm looking at you.
Okay, all right. I am not mad about this. This could be big for a few squads here, and some of the teams that are going to be scary. I mean, you've got NRG, Optic, and DZ all on that western side of things, all in really solid spots to not only get their loot, but instantly have a place to hold within some of these potential zone areas. And that is going to make some of the rotations for these teams that have to make their way from a farther place difficult.
I mean, yeah, you think about LAN up in Lightning Rod. Granted, they're at like the highest point of the map on Storm Point, where typically a lot of the rotations moving south would be of ease to them. But now they have to go not only just a little bit further south, but all the way to the western side. And we were talking to Phoenix, right? He was talking in their Merly EMEA broadcast about a lot of the issues with having to rotate on Storm Point. It's the choke points. It's every little bit of contention, all the powerhouse teams that you're going to have to get through. So let's take LAN's rotation from Lightning Rod, right? Yeah, there's some jump towers. There's a one over at High Point. That's great. You can Valk ult from High Ground and Command Center, but you've got TSM that lands at the wall, Sentinels that are up in High Point, 100 Thieves at Command Center, you've got CLG and Stormcatcher, and you have NRG and Checkpoint where that zone is going. It's going to be tough.
Not an easy go of it for sure. It'll be interesting to see how some of these teams decide to handle that, knowing we get second ring information from what we can see on the map. And like you said, NRG looks comfortable, Optic looks comfortable, people are already making their moves in, DZ now making their push, and everyone nailing down some space. Somehow though, we've got Lou in a bit of a pickle. We've got Team Diverge getting some shots off in the distance. You can see more of Lanimals popping off in the kill feed, and it's early, but they're already engaging.
Yeah, and I respect that, right? If they feel that this is a fight that they can take and it's going to be isolated. Wait, hold on a second, Glitter. We got McLovin and the Trident, and this is a very important moment. Man, not Daniel, just cruising through the lower half of Checkpoint. They know where they want to go, and they want to get there quick. And who's driving? Is it McLovin? Is McLovin operating this vehicle? Is that even allowed? Can McLovin operate a vehicle?
I feel better about this driving path though, because it wasn't over water, so this is okay with me.
Yeah, bro, you were scarred from yesterday. I had a friend, I was watching this yesterday, and my friend texted me, she goes, did you see that? And I was like, yeah. She's like, okay, just wanted to make sure you saw that. I was like, oh no, I witnessed it. But LTC climbing to the top, wanting to take to the skies, and they're calling this to pull more north pad. So they do not want to get stuck in Checkpoint, and I respect this, right? Because typically anytime you see a zone that kind of intersects back, so you've got the next ring information, right? But you see the back of north pad where that survey beacon is on the mini map, those two rings are kind of touching, and every time I've seen this happen, it has ended on the north pad side. Seems like Optic as well, TSM, they are believing this also. And you know what? I trust Raven.
You know, we got to see a little bit of trenches action yesterday as well, so might be able to have some fun with this one towards the end, as the teams are definitely going to have a rough time fighting between who's on high, who's down in those trenches. LTC instantly getting into it. You were wondering what they were going to do with that Valk rotate. Well, it seems they dropped instantly down on a team and want to continue this battle.
Yeah, it's really tough, right? These bunkers, at least they do have Watson in the mix. They've already got the Jenny down and they're utilizing the fences to kind of try and anchor it off. It's a little tough to try and get an angle to try and shoot the nodules there, and they can kind of go back in and regen up at 250 HP, and usually around the Jenny itself, it'll have a circle of how many like shield health is left on it, and that's something to keep apprised of. And what really cool, Watson should always have multiple ultimate accelerants. You can see Not Daniel already working on popping another one, which will instantly give them access to the Jenny. So should it go down, or maybe they just want to pop a new one down and not waste resources on their heals, very, very smooth move from them.
At least able to give themselves a little bit of breathing room here, drug-free. Backing off with that banner. We're going to see what they can do with this rotation away. But LTC definitely holding their own. They've been looking quite confident in the fights that we've been seeing them get into, even starting off the day with a really high placing finish, especially in that fight over in Thermal. Now checking in with Complexity on top of the beast here, trying to see who's below, if they can maybe get any poke damage out and get these blues turned into purples.
Ooh, Complexity, Luda, Cody, and Monsoon. Monsoon on Catalyst. You know, they had a rather lackluster start here towards match day number 4, currently sitting in 16th place. And I know that this is one of those rosters as well that is looking to adapt, right? There's been a lot of changes, and Luda and Cody being new to working with Monsoon, and Luda in general having worked with so many teams during Split 1. Cody coming into ESA with Luda very much at the end, and now kind of on this Complexity roster. It's always like, I kind of look to it as they just need some time, right? You've just got to shake out the synergy and kind of make that happen. And I'm excited to see kind of going forward. Will they have some success here on Stormpoint? If not, I look towards the next match day, because I feel like it's a matter of time for this trio.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. I mean, we've been talking about them about Complexity for such a long time. They are another team that is wildly talented, and sometimes just it takes a little bit of growing pains to get to where you need to go, especially with all of the changes that these teams have had to face for this new season. I mean, when you see not, you know, 1 or 2 teams struggling, but half of the lobby sometimes having rough days, it's not an individual or a team issue. It's just they're all trying to figure it out together, and sometimes some people are picking it up faster than others. Meat Lovers, though, in the Trident trying to escape, and it's not going well. Down to a duo now and trying to survive, hopefully able to wrap around this rock and get a little bit of a reset, but they're finding themselves potentially pinched here.
I love that they stuck the res, and you see that they immediately drop a shield for the player that is getting rezzed, and they can kind of focus on healing up. But this is a moment where Team Diverge can really capitalize on this fight. They have the health advantage. Now, if they can just force Meat Lovers into an unfavorable position, because you know that Complexity is at down beast, and they have a direct LOS into this chokehold. You can see Zainu already out, Funk already out. The issue is those eliminations went to Complexity and not Team Diverge.
And Complexity have a nice off angle there. I don't think Team Diverge was ready for all of that additional damage to come through as well. Backing off here and seeing if they can figure out exactly where they need to be looking. But they are a little bit starting. I mean, that's a rough choke to be into, to really be hanging out there. They don't want to stick around for too long.
No, you really don't. And I mean, when push comes to shove, I respect that they went for the boxes to check the loot. But Sleepy Panda was doing a little dancey dance, waiting for the Wraith Q to kind of kick into effect so they could get out of dodge. But Dark Zero on your screen, you can see See your information is up in Adam with that exhibit. And, you know, this is a fight that I'm really excited to see kind of how this is going to pan out. Naughty himself tweeted, he's like, look, don't chow me today. Like, I am ready to put in a good show. And Lou was able to pick up an elimination on Sharky immediately. So they've turned this into a 3v2 fight, and the amped covers come out from Albrelelli.
That was a really nice push in by Lanimals. DZ now down to a duo and trying to find a little bit of cover down below here with that smoke and the dark veil. At least able to escape without too much focus, but depending on which turns they take here, Tiff, they might find themselves running into yet another squad.
Like, it's a maze that I really don't want to find myself in. It's disgusting. At one end is LAN, the other end is TSM. Choose your corners carefully, because you know how Hal is. He likes to explore. He likes to extend out a little bit from Reps and Verholst, trying to gather some information. And you know that if Reps can get on that heartbeat, there's 2 beats, they have an advantage. But speaking of advantage, FaZe already grabbing a knock onto Asura, and they are in full force. We know Snipedown is feeling some type of way, especially after having pretty much God spot for last zone. They want to capitalize on the rotation and carry that momentum forward. So picking up their first kill of map number 4 in style. They just need to find the other 2.
I mean, the second Asura popped his head up around those stairs, FaZe is like, nope. This is where we would like to hold, please. The rest of Drug Free very close, trying to escape. Will FaZe be able to knock them out of the sky from this skyward dive? It seems like Drug Free is going to be able to make their way out of there. FaZe not going to be super stoked about that, but also happy that they don't have anyone challenging now in this building.
Look, I've got some mixed feelings about the triple take. Sometimes I feel like it's a triple take kind of day and it's hitting disgustingly. And then others, I just watch that and I'm like, bro, I don't know, man. Like, very unfavorable, because they were so low on health. They just needed 1 or 2 good pokes, and that would have been a completely different story.
We'll see if they decide to stick with it after it has let them down there in that scenario. But like we said, at least now have lots of space to themselves, and they can hear those gunshots off in the distance. They can see some fences down below, so they've got some information at their disposal, knowing at least people are fighting in the vicinity, that they're going to be close to that, and they might be able to push in at a really solid angle, because these trenches are starting to get a little precarious.
Ooh, I love that word, precarious. It makes me so happy. I feel like just big words like that make me feel like I'm just a little bit smarter. No, I'm not gonna lie. But you're right, 100 Thieves on one corner, Dark Zero on another. Doesn't seem like they've been able necessarily to get back up into full force. It's going to be rather exhausting trying to get to that respawn beacon that's kind of up on the higher ground out of the trenches. And 100 Thieves, this was that team that I was highlighting at the pre-show, right? I was really excited about the momentum that they experienced yesterday, and I feel as if setting themselves up in the trenches, sitting on triple purple, pretty much kitted out. Yeah, Vaxon's only got 2 bats, sitting so technically 210, as they would call it. I like it, though. I'm feeling good about this one.
Let's check that quadrant.
I mean, 100 Thieves know that they've got a team in front of them that they need to worry about. Do they know that it's a duo? Potentially not. They might just be trying to deal some of this poke damage. You can see Hal peeking around the corner. They're also trying to get some harass down. DZ's finding themselves caught between a rock and a hard place here, and I have no idea how they plan to escape or survive in that situation.
Look, it's like, Hal, your inner Wraith main is showing. Chill. No, I'm just kidding. I know how that goes, bro. Like, trust me, as someone who plays a lot of Wraith, or a character that has the ability that is on a movement legend, right, where you can kind of go do some entry damage and kind of go back to your team, it's fun. And no matter what Hal plays, it is something that he will always do. So typically I like to see him on a movement character, which is why I think Catalyst is a very interesting choice for him. And I know when we kind of briefly saw them testing it out, it made sense for kind of the decision maker, because when he doesn't want to calm to where he wants to see the Dark Veil, right? He just wants to be able to throw it up, because you lose time that way. But CLG taking high ground here in this engagement. Verholst finding some success online as Hal falls to Optic.
I am trying to also pay attention into this kill feed right now. We've got CLG taking people out. Noxious now down. Native Gaming did go out to TSM, but while TSM was fighting Native, Optic was in on that battle, and Optic took out TSM. That's bad.
Look, I mean, they were down in the trenches. They were in one area. It's hard to say kind of what happened to them and how Optic approached that as well. But Sentinels on your screen, they are alive and well. It is Sen City, baby. And Keon finding a good knock onto Glitch Energy's Aiden. So this is good. They can hold them out. They can bide their time. Glitch Energy essentially had to come to them. And if you're going to split them up, you've only got to find two. And you don't even need to overextend for it. Rambo with the charge rifle being a little Chad, just out here finding some success, and Glitch Energy eliminated.
Yeah, they've got a little bit of help from in front of them. CLG also getting involved on that damage down onto Glitch Energy, which also gives Sentinels the information knowing that if they continue to rotate along this edge of the zone, they will then next be running into at least a team. They might not know that it's CLG, but they'll at least know that they'll be running into another trio in front of them, and they can kind of decide how they like to handle that push, because the zone did shift and it is not in favor of anyone that is on the southern edge here, and that is a lot of teams that are about to start having to make a huge push out from where they are.
Look, all I gotta say is McLovin knew. McLovin knew. LTC Esports, they got out of checkpoint, bro. They were like, nah, we're heading to North Pad because it's gonna end on that side. So you called it perfectly. There's probably a handful of teams we just witnessed in that free cam shot that are still in checkpoint, that have not made their way through it yet. So I'd imagine that we're going to see kind of that mass exodus you were talking about sooner rather than later, because North Pad's going to get so congested. We have 14 squads here and 35 seconds for a decision. And what I've typically seen done is they will wait till the final 3 to 4 seconds before ejecting onto that. But a cheeky little angle from Vaxlon, well, that converted into a down on Jeff Burton. Dark Zero eliminated Vaxlon, you little menace.
He kept trying to sneak up and poke for so long. I mean, 100 Thieves knew that they were there, and DZ was just trying to barely hold on. They were in such a rough spot, especially after getting cut down to a duo. Now they are cleared out, and that at least gives 100 Thieves some breathing room. But meanwhile, everybody else is trying to escape with some sort of semblance. Sentinels were holding that eastern side of the zone, and some of the teams that were in that cluster at the bottom tried to leave early and wrap out to the eastern edge, CCE and MLS being some of those teams. And now Sentinels finding themselves on the run from those squads behind them, because they ended up turning back around, and it's coming back to bite them.
Look, 13 squads, round 4 closing, 19 seconds left. We are about to witness chaos. CCE swings on the first little bit of trenches, and Team Diverge is out. Madness finding some nice opening damage onto CCE. There's no way they're withstanding. The Sentinels not able to survive the rotation. CCE going down as well. CLG, the last standing team from that right side of the ring, able to survive. But with double Seer exhibits down, Watson fences, I mean Glitter, this is chaos, but look who's standing. It's McLovin. They knew.
And all of the teams that we're seeing going down in the kill feed, I believe FaZe just went down as well, though a lot of them are those teams that had to push in from the southern side of this zone. That move out was detrimental for so many squads. LTC able to just try and fend off whoever they can down here at the bottom. I mean, they have done a really good job for themselves so far. You can see on the top end, Lanimals and NRG have been chilling on the north end, waiting for this zone to continue moving towards them, while everybody else below is fighting, and these trenches are about to get very messy.
Look, you turn the one wrong corner in this trench, you're going to be met with Albraleli Sheila, so you got to play it a little safely. NRG anchoring kind of that right side of the zone for the next part, and they've got a bunker, right? So they've got a lot of cover here. Complexity, unfortunately, just gets sandwiched between CLG and NRG, and they just kind of capitalize on that. My thing is, we're looking at MLS kind of on your upper right-hand side of the screen, just making a push straight onto CLG, and I like this. They need to take this. They need to fight their way into zone, and sometimes the only way through it is to get in there and go for it, and they are able to wipe CLG with ease. Now they've got to hit the reset onto Madness before anyone pushes, but NRG doesn't want to leave their shelter.
That was a huge push for MLS. it cleared out a lot of space for them right now. Obviously, like you're saying, NRG will be next in their crosshairs if they continue making this rotation through. But right now, they've got at least a moment of breathing room. But now we'll see what NRG has going on right now. They know that they're about to potentially get pushed and still have people at their back. So let's jump in with the listen and see what they've got to say.
And they might get shot above us.
Flying.
Behind us, they're landing behind us. Northeast, northeast, northeast.
100.
Watson dead. He's dead, he's dead, he's dead.
Wait, someone else died here too.
They're above us. They're above us. Above us. Above us south. Above us south. No, above us south.
South? Old 9. No, they're in the trench. They're in the... Say that.
I'm needing
Zero now.
I'm burning one. I'm burning one. They're climbing back up. They're climbing back up. I'm throwing up downs above us.
They're playing our far side.
I'm throwing up downs.
I'm bang ulting them.
They broke Cyril. They broke Cyril.
How did they break it? Item 60. We don't have Cyril for
Bango
this.
sliding right now. Bango sliding right now.
How the?
Sticking the front guy.
Bango. Swing with them, Guild. No hits. No hit. I don't know where they're at though. Come back.
No. They're all like.
Come back, Guild.
I'm coming back. I'm coming back. I'm punching Nate.
Play
my knock. Play my knock. He got knocked. He got knocked. Do not. Res me.
I'm resting.
Kill the other one.
They died.
I'm smoking inside.
He might be inside.
There.
Q it, Guild, Q it.
Not behind you.
I armor swapped. I'm alive.
We're getting swung. Play my knock.
Get in the corner. Do not move from the corner.
These two teams might fight because they're not all in the bunker. Holding it, looking straight at that nade. Maybe. No, they're trying to. Gotta break these spikes.
You gotta break it. Guild, for me.
I'm walking out forward. They're swinging.
Crack's here. No.
Okay. Nate, I don't know what's going on.
I mean, look, Glitter, that was impressive, but unfortunately it came down to the fact that NRG had nowhere to go. They were completely sandwiched as Optic kept turning their focus onto them. Now Lanimals looking to set themselves up for success here and take their first map win here in Split 2.
That was an insane way to close out the trenches. Now, to be fair, if we think about who got in there early and owned the northern edge of that zone the entire time, it was Lanimals. And they did a really good job of playing that as strongly as they did. The fact, though, that NRG survived in that corner. They even got the res. I didn't think they were going to get the res. They almost clutched that up.
Look, it was really close, Vicky, but the only thing I feel like we were missing was a little Sheila action. Am I right?
I didn't hear it ringing through my ears because they were holding on to the high ground. They didn't need to take it out just yet. But being the only Rampart in this lobby and taking the dub, we talked about Lanimals earlier on. We wanted to see some success, and we are having it now on Storm Point.
I mean, look, that's kind of what we asked for. I told you guys kind of at the earlier bit of this broadcast, I briefly talked about it. I was like, Lanimals, they were starting to look like scrim warlords, and that's tough to say because we always talk about scrims and practicing and looking at your game plan in scrims, and even Kashara kind of mentioned it a little bit during the EMEA broadcast at one point. And it's like, how do you take that game plan that you have kind of started to test in scrims and take it forward to finding success on ALGS game day? And Glitter, I mean, finally, we get to see it.
I loved what we saw, especially even going past those final moments earlier on in the match. The trench fights in general that we saw, they threw a lot of teams for a loop, and then some teams found some really solid success, whether that was in holding that space. I mean, we saw how hard DZ tried to survive just as a duo, seeing if they could hide from whoever else was around them. But the confidence that we saw in 100 Thieves pushing through, and honestly, even CLG held their end, their side of the zone for as long as possible. It was that massive push in from the south, and that really messed with a lot of those squads.
Look, I mean, you said it best. It was incredibly tough. And as we have these highlights kind of queued up, I want to go ahead and note a tweet. Q Naughty from Lanimals. Big day putting every bit of my focus and energy into today's games. Don't chow me when everything is on the line, because we're all talking about split 2 playoffs, right? And it starts here. This is that second time that A versus B are matching up against each other, and you really only get 6 match days to get those points. You do not want to leave everything on the line coming into those regional finals. And here was that cheeky shot, Vicky. What did you think about that?
Yeah, I love that. I love being able to sit by and watch a lot of these players pop off in their own way.
I
saw
kidding. I'd be curious to hear
little...
your thoughts on some of these swings here, starting with that mass exodus that we were talking about and kind of the rotation that we witnessed. It was tough, right?
Yeah, I mean, and we're seeing a lot of that play out here too, because so many teams, there just wasn't enough room. And you had mentioned it when we were talking about the cast. You're like, everyone's going to wait until the very last second, but all that does is produce mass chaos. Okay, we saw MLS having to force themselves into a push here where they could take out CLG, and then these final moments, Vicky, for NRG, it was so hard to watch because they were so close to getting it.
Yeah, I'm back now, guys, and I got to see this insane play from NRG. They were close. They even tried to get the shield swap, but they were getting shot from behind at the same time. It was Optic Gaming, though. I'd love to talk about Optic Gaming and the way that them and CLG have really been able to stay consistent, exiting out of World's Edge into Storm Point. But Lanimals, it was finally their time to shine with their interesting composition. And with 7 KP to their name, but look at who's in second place. 10 KP going in favor for Optic Gaming. What a way to put the cherry on top for a team that's already sitting in first place overall.
I mean, I just think it's really impressive. NRG able to hold on to that positioning, but unfortunately weren't able to capitalize on the conversion of damage they were doing. They only picked up 3 eliminations that game for a total of 10 points. And you look down to CLG, found a lot of success, necessarily didn't last towards the top 5, but 7 elims is still very strong for them. Let's go ahead and hop on over to the back half of the lobby. Sentinels, 2 elims, and that was really tough for them because that journey to get into that next zone was so tough. TSM picking up a couple eliminations on the way, Team Diverge as well, because look, I'm not gonna lie, that was a really challenging zone pool, Glitter, and we saw all the teams in checkpoint, everyone trying to make a play for the trenches, and we just witnessed trench warfare.
Yeah, I mean, people did the best with the hand that they were dealt in a lot of situations in this particular match, but I cannot get over Optic right now. I mean, absolutely farming Optic is, and we have to look at these match 4 stats for Skittlecake because this is 6 kills in 1 match. When we're talking about keeping track of those individual kill leaderboards, he's got to feel good about this type of a performance.
Look, all I see is the Jack in the Box logo on Skittlecake shirt, and I'm just like, man, are they powered by Jack in the Box? I haven't had a taco in a long time, and now I'm motivated. If I eat Jack in the Box tacos and I frag like that, I will be pred in no time. Just kidding. Maybe Masters hard stuck. Look, I don't know. But let's go ahead and take a look and see just how this panned out for the series results. Optic Gaming, 62 points. And I feel like the green wall is feeling really good right now. CLG, 46 points, FaZe rounding out your top 3, and then TSM and NRG rounding out that top 5 overall. Not too bad, right, Vicky?
I love this. I love this. I know we talk about Skittlecake, but also not going crazy in the feed. Look at that gap between first and second place between themselves and CLG with 46 points. Top 5, though, NRG, TSM, FaZe. The squads that, were trying to put themselves on board on World's Edge. We still got 2 more games left to go for the rest of the day here in NA.
Ooh. Well, I guess all the action is kind of just getting started because these are some of my favorite matches of the day. Matches 5 and 6. But we're going to cut to a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to have so much more action in store for you. Monster Energy, the official energy drink of the Apex Legends Global Series. Oh, that was a quick break, y'all. We are ready to get into the action, but I'm gonna head out because I really want Glitter and Vicky to call all the action for maps 5 and 6. I'm gonna go grab some popcorn because I really want to see how this is gonna turn out, but I need a snack.
All right, hopefully you can save some food for me and Vicky because I mean I want some popcorn too. With all the action that we've been seeing on today and now what we just saw on Stormpoint, Vic, we're gonna need it.
Yeah, I definitely need some of that popcorn too. Get me replenished out here and see all the show go down, especially when it comes to circles like Northpad. I mean, look, we had basically 18 squads left up until Circle 4 when it was closing in, and then that's when the chaos just broke down. I also like to see the composition swap-ups from teams like CLG. Mamba now no longer Caustic. We were expecting that. I mean, it is Stormpoint. Now back on the Catalyst, those walls really put in the work when it comes to those tricky rotations if you're out in the open, but we're getting a change up on where the circle is going to be pulling. Looks like we're going to get one of our more central circles, which teams like 100 Thieves out here could definitely profit at the end.
100 Thieves, I mean, Meat Lovers, Dead Center, Team Diverge. And speaking of Meat Lovers, this is even great for NRG after the performance they just had. Now they can be right on the edge of the next 2 rings, and they can kind of just hang out here for a little bit if they want to.
Yeah, they're basically serving up everything on a deli menu out here for a lot of these teams with the way that they're going to be able to loot up all of Cascade Falls and get some nice clean rotations, even get that beacon maybe to the north if they are feeling a little risky out here because they know that TSM is going to be rotating probably in that direction when they leave the wall. Taking a look at where our next circle is going to be pulling, though, once we do exit out of Cascade Falls, Energy, another team that's going to be able to profit off of this rotation. Once they clear out Checkpoint, they already have this next circle information. Looking at the circle beacon that's already at Checkpoint, they can secure themselves down here and try to clear this western half of where that next circle is pulling.
Yeah, we've got people starting to make those early moves too. We saw Glitch Energy, we saw DZ getting in there as quickly as possible, and Lanimals, after a phenomenal performance in our last match, are going to have, you know, not a terrible rotation, but they're going to have to get to move in at some point if they want to at least find some real estate.
Hey, they were able to rotate super quick too, right out of Lightning Rod into Northpad. It was clearing that north side where a lot of teams did go for earlier rotations, so they didn't have to worry about TSM rotating that direction and such. Lanimals, while they are going to get kitted up though, we're going to tune into Dark Zero. Getting involved in an early fight here looked like already. They already are walking away with blue Evo shields, and they're already pinging where they want to rotate to next.
I can't tell if they were...
Whoa.
Now they're definitely running away from someone, but the people that they be around are potentially a little bit scary. They might have accidentally crossed paths with NRG on their quick rotation in, and this could be a very important early game fight.
Oh man, I was dancing off the other side of my seat trying to hope that they could get the cover of the trees. Sometimes when you lean in, you can lean with your character in real life. They're getting beamed off this other side. It's Glitch Energy who are putting in the pressure. Currently, the Rolling Thunder is going to be able to move in, forcing them to back away. Nice space out here from Reeds, who also has his own Rolling Thunder ready. Sending out the Arcstar, though. It's a bad situation for Dark Zero to be in with the other squads to their north. The Beamage with the Nemesis, forcing them to burn more of their meds.
Now, Glitch Energy was the other team that we actually saw rotating in super early alongside DZ. They've now crossed each other's paths, and DZ is in trouble. Zero's down. Dark Zero's eliminated by Glitch Energy on their rotation.
Dark Zero on Stormpoint usually goes crazy, Glitter. Last game, they got 14th, and now they're the first team to drop in Game 5? This is crazy.
I did notice that NRG got in on the fight a little bit. Saw that pop up in the kill feed. I think it was Nathan that was helping out in the takedown of DZ, so that was a rough spot for them to be in. But like you said, a team that did well on Stormpoint now out of the lobby could open up a lot of things for some of our squads. Checking in now with Team Diverge, seeing what decisions they're going to be making over here. This is going to be a building standoff here for these two, though, unless someone decides to go crazy. I mean, as I say, the Funk might be moving in, but we'll see.
He's just staring menacingly, looking over at the squad that's inside. There is somebody on the high ground, though. It's meat lovers who are about to get the set of information from the crypto drone. It is nice to note about the legend compositions that we've been seeing so far on Stormpoint right now. Believe this is our only crypto that we have in the lobby for meat lovers. I know we have one Wraith in the lobby, one Horizon, one Rampart, of course, with Aberlele, who just won with Lanimals. 2 Watsons, 6 Bangalores, 14 Catalysts, 15 Valkyries, and 19 Seers. Moving in after that EMP, though, that's supposed to be the opener. Meat Lover taking their time. The counter rotate, but they shoot them from behind. The double crack as Fun gets taken down himself. Oh, they had the advantage, but they can't finish it off.
Zainu just absolutely popping off for a second there, barely making it out with a sliver of health. Tech now trying to at least grab the banner and see if meat lovers can somehow hold on here. They started off that fight so well and just could not close it out. Maybe a little bit of a re-engage here now that Zainu was able to get those heals off. They decide to fully commit to this and see if they can clear out Team Diverge.
Oh, he's won. He gets the finish on Team Diverge. There were shots getting taken onto meat lovers from afar, so they gotta go for this quick reset with the boxes at their feet. Gonna be able to try to get Fun right back in.
Danger close.
It's about going in for the beacon, though, while trying to avoid the team that's still shooting at them. Lanimals, all right. Well, they built up their own windshield wipers. It got destroyed against the Warhawk. All right, Lanimals are gonna be able to rotate away from the Trident. I know you were there, Glitter. But so the viewers that weren't able to witness the chaos at home yesterday, these Tridents are now considered notorious in the NA region.
It did not bode well for quite a few of our teams as soon as they decided to take them out very far into the water. It ended up being this domino effect of people just getting picked off at the very beginning of our match. And so we're going to try and hope that that never happens ever again. But Lanimals now getting on the roof, using this rampart to their advantage, setting up shop just a second so they can get the information that they are looking for and then continue on with this rotation. We can see the map too and see what's going on with this zone as it continues to shift down where all of these teams are starting to set up shop. We saw how early Glitch Energy made their move in. NRG was also one of those very early squads. You see LTC and their CCE, everyone holding some spots, which means some of those edge squads are going to be in a rougher spot because there's not a lot of space for people to play right now.
I love how you noted that with how quick some of these teams were ready to rotate on top of Cascade Falls. Lanimals did basically a drive-by for that circle, and they're just abandoning the vehicle, leaving it there for evidence. They're going to be able to rotate downhill through Stormcatcher, where FaZe has already rotated out of, so this is a good call from them. I'm mostly worried about their med situation, but we'll see if they'll be able to maybe scoop some things up in Stormcatcher. Don't think there's a replicator there, but there is a replicator on the way to that next circle by the edge of Cascade Falls and Command Center.
TSM potentially have Sentinels in their sights right now. Sentinels was just rotating through. TSM, though, as they were trying to at least watch that rotation, starting to take a little bit of poke damage there. Verholst having to get those shields healed back up. And TSM's going to back off. They want to make sure that they play this as safely as possible because they don't want to have to go out early yet again.
Yeah, that last game, they got KP. I believe it was 2 KP, but they got 16th place. And with this circle pulling towards Cascade, you would think that exiting out of the wall, they could approach from the high ground that eventually declines into that low ground from that hill that Meat Lovers was in originally. So many other teams have already made their way through the wall. I'm expecting them to rotate eventually through that north side, exiting out of the wall, Sentinel, CLG. Honor Thieves now, as we take a look at what they're doing, barricading the door, finding some safety inside of this building, trying to get some extra loot too. You can see Amu just dropping his shield real quick, pinging some things from a distance. 18 squads still left, and the second circle is about to close in.
This is going to be the point of the game where once everyone has found a little bit of space to set up, and we're going to see everybody settle here just for a little bit. If they can poke and annoy each other, they will, but unless somebody gets caught on a rotation or thinks a building is safe when it isn't and pushes in, then there shouldn't be anything too crazy right now. You can see Sentinels there on the outskirts trying to see if there's anywhere they can push into. Complexity already has a building. FaZe already has a building. I mean, this trifecta right now, Vicky, would be a little bit intimidating if I were Sentinels trying to just make a safe push through.
Especially with full blue evos, and I love to highlight FaZe's rotation to get here because they rotated out of Stormcatcher, got into that next circle, and then took the skyward dive to secure this building. And with that timing, they denied this space from Sentinels, who was looking for a chance to maybe get a building themselves. Now they have to play on the outside with just the rock for some natural cover. They can hold this choke point, but this could be third-party central for the squads that want to continuously rotate through this north side.
Yeah, and honestly, we talked about Drug Free at the beginning of the day, a team that on day one completely popped off, and now we see them here in between, technically, FaZe, Complexity, and Sentinels, and all of these teams definitely not wanting to be the first one to engage because that will just draw the focus of everyone in the area. Sentinel's going to hang out here by these rocks for now and make sure that they're at least not having to worry about their backs. We get information on the map, Vicky, for the next zone shift, and there's lots of people that are going to be upset about that one.
Cascade Falls is a dud. It's pulling all the way towards the north, where FaZe already took up that building. Sentinels is about to get in a messy situation. The squad up in that armory is probably going to poke at them while they're holding the choke point away from meat lovers. Oh man, this is going to be incredibly chaotic. I'm thinking about TSM that has to rotate out of the wall. You can see them off your left-hand screen while CLG is stuck inside the circle. They're going to be able to use the replicator, so they'll definitely have meds to work with. And just to highlight, for those of you guys just tuning in, the replicator now has the purple extended light mag as well as a purple stock and the purple bag and the purple helmet. The weekly rotation did change today. It was the mobile respawn beacon. I know yesterday, I believe, we had the Digi threat too in the daily rotation. So a lot of change up, which is nice to note because, of course, with that Digi threat, you already know how we've been seeing Bangalore smokes all over the place. Cascade walls coming up. That Digi threat does come in clutch, though, especially when you have a Bangalore in your team composition.
Yeah, and it's something that we actually touched on a lot yesterday because it did make a difference for everyone having access to it, right, when it came to at least functioning within all of that smoke. But now that the zone has shifted, we're going to start seeing some tough decisions being made by these teams as they have to either take fights or get out of dodge, because all the teams that we had initially talked about before, Complexity, Drug Free, FaZe, now they're safe. But these teams, MLS, not looking so safe. They're trying to decide how they want to take this engagement right now, or do they want to just keep themselves safe and alive? Shuby losing the shields.
We should cruise over there.
As the rest of MLS leaves that area, not wanting to take the fight. I believe it was with CCE, if I'm not mistaken, but it might be forced on them, Vicky.
Oh, man, I was going to say, this is a good call for them to rotate as quickly as possible, but CCE is not letting them get away for free. This is the team with the Horizon. They've been trying to rock their Horizon for a while now, even after their lackluster performance in week 1. MLS now takes the high ground. They see the skyward dive, and while they wanted to get ahead of the rest of the crowd here in Cascade Falls to counter-rotate, other teams have already taken to the skies first. So this actually may open things up for MLS to say, you know what, never mind, let's not rotate through the south side. Let's continuously push forward where we won't have to traverse through more ground to wrap around the rock and then save time into that next circle.
You know, the one good thing that, or at least for MLS, that came out of that was the fact that they were able to take down one of CCE, but now TSM ends up going for their rotate in and is instantly finding themselves going up against Drug Free. They're down to 2, but TSM is gone. They do not survive that Valk rotate in. Meanwhile, everything is starting to pop off in the kill feed. NRG takes out Glitch Energy. CCE ends up landing still within the crosshairs of MLS, and 100 Thieves are on the other side of this dark veil. These rotations are starting to get so messy.
Yeah, Complexity also helped with that there too. Meanwhile, MLS on the other side of 100 Thieves, yeeting that grenade at their feet. Grenade after grenade. Scurry is literally trying to hide to reset after he just finished popping that shield cell. 100 Thieves on the other side will be able to reset though. They got the big meds to work with. Let's jump into a listen with 100 Thieves to see how they play this low ground.
We need to destroy that. We need to destroy that.
I'm dead to this team now. I'm dead to this team.
You're not
Try to
gonna
play my knockdown.
Fuck. Give me knock. Give me knock.
Yeah, I'm giving you it.
Nade beyond.
I'm blocking it. I'm blocking nade.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, 100 Thieves. That was such an unfortunate circumstance. The grenades were just bombarding at their feet. If the first 2 nades weren't enough, the Arcstar will definitely do it. And do I hear this correctly? Albert Lily pulling out the Sheila, roaring through the sky. They were taking shots at the teams to their feet. This is the team that comes out on top. Those death boxes are all 100 Thieves. All death boxes that they left behind. And they're going to be able to get the extra loot that they need while still maintaining this high ground right here.
Listen, we were worried that this is what was going to happen as soon as everyone that was already in Cascade Falls realized that that's not where the zone was going to be. Getting out of there was going to be very difficult, and this is the result of that. We're seeing lots of these teams getting caught in the rotations, going down, and yet on the flip side of that, the teams we saw earlier that had managed to nail down those buildings, including Sentinels just holding those rocks, are still comfortable and in the zone. It's going to really come down to all the teams that have to push up from the south to see what they can do and put themselves in a solid spot. We've got LTC, Native, obviously Lanimals right here. They're going to be going for that skyward dive and hopefully see if they can find some real estate. But with everything taken up, they might find themselves potentially in the crosshairs of the likes of Optic or Complexity on those exterior buildings, so it's going to be risky.
Oh no. Where do you go?
Exactly.
Where do you go? Oh, they land on the rocks over on the side, right outside of the other squads. Complexity inside one of those buildings. They're getting shot at by the buildings over to the right. But what's good about the situation, Albert Lely is quick with those amp walls, wasting no time, hugging the rocks to the right and the fence line. This is the natural makeshift cover that they were able to capitalize off of, and they got here before everybody else did too with the skyward dive.
That was a pretty clutch play there, not gonna lie, because there was a moment where they could have taken a lot of damage. They were getting looked at by Complexity. Optic was on the other side of them, so it was a tough spot, but they made it work. Now checking back in with Drug Free, back up to a 3-man, so they were able to get a little bit of a reset there after that previous engagement, setting up these fences so that they've got a little bit of a defensive situation going here. But as the zone is continuing to shrink, we're watching people go down in the kill feed. Native Gaming now eliminated, FaZe down to 2, but we see them trying to use this Moby, see if they can get Phony back in the game.
How much is he gonna use up though to get Phony right back in? He's got the catalyst wall, but everybody's gonna look in their direction. There's 10 squads left in this teeny tiny circle, and we already know how many teams are holding the choke points, holding the building to their right. Maybe he has to burn the catalyst wall if you want to safely get him back in, but still, your left side will be exposed. There you go. Oh, Meat Lovers in a fight inside of the armory. There was a team originally on the high ground here, only one player left, and they are looking fantastic. That was Noxious, who are out of this lobby in 10th.
All right, now we've got the overview here of everything that is going on. We see CLG there on the outskirts trying to figure out what they can do to push in on some of these fights. And right now, it seems like they don't have any viable options going for that skyward dive. Going to see if they can at least give themselves a little bit of time to reassess the situation while everybody else is trying to fight. You've got Lanimals up on the roof looking down, and they have some good sight lines. CLG now going down in the kill feed. Complexity here trying to hold everybody off of this building as the final fights finally start to kick off.
It's crazy because there was that respawn beacon right in front of FaZe, and I think they also got Phony right back in. Complexity now playing off the other side here of this building. Look at the cat walls coming up. One to the south, 2 to the front, another one to the southeast. This is insane. Lanimals on the other side. Sentinels getting involved in some cover from the catalyst walls and the fence line, and Complexity have nowhere to go once that catalyst wall to their south goes down.
Okay, we need to give some serious props to Sentinels for managing to make this work. The only team that was in here early that didn't have a building for cover and still alive, making it happen. Complexity trying to survive. Ludo with just a sliver of health here as Sentinels play the absolute outside edge behind that wall right now, seeing what they can do. Lanimals definitely looking their way. You see Snipe down in there as well, trying to survive. Sentinels potentially going in for this push as they know that there's damage that's been dealt, and potentially this, is there a solo under them that they're going to try to clean up here? Sentinels losing one as they try to push in. It is Snipe down. He's right there in the corner.
Rambo was looking for him and he couldn't find him, and he pops the med kit. Here comes the Seer ult. The fact that Snipe down is still, look, they're all looking for him. They're like, where is he? We know he's here. The Seer ult is going to show where he is, but if they poke out, they're going to get shot by Sentinels. Optics on the other side. Snipe down is literally holding for dear life, and they finally see him on the other side. Alberto says, come here, you're ours. And he picks him up while being able to get away from the grasp of the other team on the other side.
Meanwhile, Optic has just been hanging out on the top edge of this the entire time, watching it go down. Let's jump in for a listen in to see if they can close this whole thing out.
I threw an arc on that kid.
I'm getting the right door, too. I'm getting the right door.
Okay, just
there's a guy out here. There's a guy out here. Careful, careful. There's a guy out there.
I'm watching it. They're playing roof. We back up. We back up now. We back up. We back up. Okay, I'm selling.
I don't have wall for 7. I don't have wall for 7.
Here's ammo knock. That's all I can give you.
I don't see it. Got it.
The left wall is goated still, too.
Yep. I have wall back. I
think we just play this left wall. I think we hard play the left wall. Literally hard play this.
All 3 up on roof. 3 up on roof.
Okay, I'm not letting them swing back here and take this rock from us.
Okay, yeah.
If they ape, I'm walling back.
One bat, 2 cells.
Dropping
60%.
you 2 bats.
60%. You have a fucking wall cell?
No. I have 2 arcs, though.
You have a thermite?
No.
Dodge that.
I'm on scan. I'm playing back a little bit. Drop your Moby on this corner right now.
Okay.
I don't have it, drop.
Dropped it.
They're on the right side of the roof.
I'm gonna queue the roof.
They walled out. I walled
us. Crouching,
playing on the wall. Playing on the wall. They're gonna have to fight each other. Make sure you don't get caught out alone. Knock.
I know.
I'm gonna vert arc the roof.
I'm
gonna get hit by that.
I got hit by selling. They might slide on us. Listen, there's like a bunch of armor swaps on the left side below the building.
I know.
Okay.
I'm gonna queue the roof. I'm queuing the roof. Fighting. I'm flying up.
Fly.
I got rampart.
Valkylo, dead.
Low ground.
Catalyst, flesh.
You have a gold knocked on the play.
Hold knock, play knock.
Nice. Last team.
Last guy.
Oh, nice. Good fucking.
What? Oh my God, Vicky. Somehow in all of that chaos, Sentinels is the team that comes out on top. I was almost positive Optic was going to be able to do that, and the PK shots weren't hitting Vicky.
Keon said, hold that. He said, hold that. He flew in and he delayed himself. He was on the top of the roof. Can we also recall the journey of Sentinels rotating north away from the wall, getting to that choke point, holding that choke point with no building while all those buildings were taken up from the very beginning of early circle 2? That was crazy. Optic Gaming got 2 knocks with nades. I was expecting them to stall up in the air. Sentinels, Keon says, hold up, I got it for the rest of Sentinels. We got to come out on top. We can't let number 1 green wall coming up take that game. But still, Optic Gaming played that amazingly. Love the fact that we got to hear their comms at the very end and how calm and collected that they sounded.
Yeah, you would not have guessed that those were the final moments if you were only listening to their comms because of how chill everybody was. But this is just another consistency success in the column for Optic Gaming today. Like you said, they might not have gotten the win, but they have been crushing it all day. Their numbers after this are going to be absolutely insane, and I'm very excited to see what it does, because at the beginning of the day, Vicky, we had said we didn't have any point sponges. Everything was very close, and Optic Gaming is changing that.
Yeah, they're just getting a lot of KP. I mean, game 2, they got like 12 KP. Game 1, they got 7. It's just been consistent damage and KP overall. I think game 3 on World's Edge, they got 9 KP. So yeah, they're not getting the desired placement points, but being able to get top 5 plus insert double-digit KP here, they're thriving. They don't even need it at this point. That's why they're number 1 in the overall standing so far. Wouldn't be surprised if they still hold that spot, because there was a pretty big gap between themselves and second place before that game, which I believe was CLG at the time. But now taking a look at our game highlights, for what we witnessed from the very beginning, Glitter, Dark Zero, the first team to go down in this game 5.
Yeah, that was a huge surprise. I don't think that either one of us thought that was going to happen. We noticed that both Glitch Energy and DZ were making really early rotates to try to get into the zone, and it did not go DZ's way. They ended up getting a little bit of a third-party action there from NRG as they did assist Glitch Energy in taking out DZ, but that was a tough spot to be in. And then we saw so many other crazy fights from here. I mean, we watched MLS force CCE off this position, thinking CCE got away, only for MLS to later find them on that rotation. We saw TSM go down there in the kill feed. I mean, it was rough because of that zone shift. It was the zone shift's fault.
It was crazy. Everybody was like, okay, Cascade falls, and then the game said no. The circle pulled all the way north. But you know what's great to highlight, actually, are the teams who did get ahead of the curve, who did predict right there. That's why Sentinels was able to hold that choke point. Meat Lovers were in the armory right there, right next to where the circle was going to be pulling. AJC shared some of that, as well as FaZe, who tried to get Bodhi right back into this fight. You saw the Catalyst wall that was utilized to try to give him some extra cover. But my little favorite rap play was definitely the snipe down rap play where nobody could find him. Not Rambo, not Albert Lily, nobody. He was forced off that high ground eventually, but at the end, Sentinels was the one to come out on top. Ooh, it was the punch!
Wait, okay, hold on. We gotta see that again. We definitely need to, because that was impressive. And that's why we were so confused, Vicky, because there was so much chaos going down that from the perspective we were on with Optic Gaming, it looked like they had it locked down. But it was anything but. And we just saw in the highlights how insane the final circle was. We're gonna run it back. We're gonna see it from Sentinel's perspective, Vic, so that we can fully understand what went down. Talk us through it.
Look, Sin City was out here and they did not play. Not only did the catwalk go up here, they held the high ground for a while. Like you mentioned, we were on Optic's point of view, but right here from Sentinel's line of sight, there was nothing to see. The only thing you could really do in this situation was fly over the wall, which Sentinel, being on this little corner of the rooftop of the building, could see where you're approaching, and Optic Gaming needed to inch forward in this instant. Yeah, they had some of the cat walls eventually, but you heard it in the comms. We saw that they were going to try to fly over. Rambo came in swinging, duking it out in the air. Nobody's safe, not even on the ground. I love this point of view. Looking at Rambo says, you cannot have this high ground. I am not gonna let you stall. And that was huge because he still was able to take a good amount of circle damage for Rambo to be the finishing blow.
I mean, understanding how that happened, that was impressive from Sentinels. And that was a team that we were looking to get that dub on the board. 6 kills, plus obviously the 12 placement points, giving them a total of 18, but matched by Optic, Vicky, because of 9 more KP to add to their tally for the day. Optic have been an unstoppable force.
Again, will not be surprised with Optic Gaming holding the lead. Even though they haven't taken the dub, they've definitely been out here with a good amount of KP. Also, Lanimals still as consistent as ever on Storm Point. You love to see it with the Rampart. Taking a look at the second page, though, I know we see a CLG at the bottom, AJC, but looking at the second page, 100 Thieves, we saw them go down in a bit of a skirmish when we saw Lanimals hold that high ground position over them. TSM dropping an 18th when they could have rotated off from the side of the wall into the direction that Sentinels was able to beat them in that rotation. Dark Zero, we talked about it before, but also the first team to go down in this lobby.
Yeah, and of course, shout out to Meat Lovers for that 11 KP on the first page. But let's see what these numbers do to the series results, because this is something we're going to be paying attention to. And obviously, no surprise, Optic Gaming absolutely smashing it at the top of this table. The point gap is unbelievable right now. But what's happening, because they're sponging those points when anybody else below them does well, specifically looking at meat lovers now, you can see how that is shaking up the standings. Anyone in the 30s slowly dropping down. CLG maintaining that second place position, and everything else working out in favor of Sentinels, at least getting themselves up there on the first page. But we still have one more match in the books that could really affect anyone that's now in like 3rd through 9th. So it's going to mean a lot, but we're going to send it to a short break before we get into all that action. So don't go anywhere.
WD Black, the official storage partner of the Apex Legends Global Series.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Our final match for day 4 of Split 2 of ALGS is about to kick off. We just had an insane ending in match number 5, Vicky. It's going to be hard to hold a candle to that, but after the performances we've seen in general, this last match could mean a lot for so many different teams.
Look, you bring the Valkyrie out here and she'll take out the spear and she'll make sure that you have no chance in that final circle. Rambo came out with hands swinging and they secured that dub for Sentinels for game 5. Final game though, Glitter, and Optic Gaming, despite holding the first place spot with basically double the points that CLG is holding on to in 2nd place, they are now able to see if they can finally take a dub, or maybe they don't even need it at this point because they are frying this entire lobby.
Honestly, the win would just be the icing on top of the cake today for Optic Gaming, because they have slayed out. They literally haven't, they finished outside of top 4 once so far all day. They have almost podiumed every single game. They have had multiple games with double-digit kills. They are destroying everyone today, and that's putting it lightly.
It's crazy. You gotta leave some for the rest of us out here, Optic. But you know what? With the way that they've been playing, even from week 1, I love to see this consistency flowing into week 2 right now. They got a lot on board here. They want to be able to showcase what they got in store for us. Dropped being included in this roster. The green wall is up and alive. Despite all of these black catalyst walls coming up, it's the green wall that still stays on top. Now we get to talk about where our final circle is going to be taking us. And FaZe, they are eyeing this happily.
FaZe is going to be very excited about that one, obviously giving them an opportunity here to nail down a position early and hold it for quite some time. Now, we did talk about how this could potentially be an issue, whether it comes down to a limited loot situation, not having enough time to really evo up your shields, but either way, FaZe is going to be having everybody coming to them. So we'll definitely be watching those rotations and the decisions their teams are making in order to get in there nice and early. And speaking of those early rotations, Sentinels already going for that skyward dive to at least get them the majority of the way of where they want to be right now. And hopefully they can find a decent spot in the zone.
I like how they were quick with it to get on top of this rooftop because they already have that next circle information. Great call here from Sentinels to try to get back-to-back wins, and now they're about to find out who is where. Gonna get that information, but does let other teams in the area know that they did get that scan. So they can just wait it out here, loot the rest of this POI here, see where they want to rotate next as well.
Let's check that quadrant.
Dark Zero, a team that went out very surprisingly early in our last match, specifically in an early rotational situation as well. Now we're going to see what they're able to do this time around. Already making the move over so that they can get some real estate themselves, and I can't possibly see it happening twice, Vicky.
Can you imagine, Glitter, when we were talking about them on the second half of that overall standings before jumping into today? They're trying to jump all the way to the top of the overall leaderboards, at least for today alone here too. I think right there, they basically are now in that top 10 area after that dub. And Keon is going crazy. Love the little skirmish we saw with Rambo at the end. And Dark Zero is finding these blasts with the charge rifle. Gets that crack. Sharky, though, gets answered back immediately. He's forced to drop down and reset.
Does at least get a little bit of damage down there, though. DZ now aware that they do have some people ahead of them they're going to be paying attention to. More charge rifle action coming out here, which will just be good for Sharky's shield for now. DZ at least having a more successful rotation this time around, being the ones doing the damage as opposed to being the ones taking the damage. And they want to close out today on a high note. We mentioned it a few times, but this last time we saw them in this group matchup, this was an opportunity for them to do well, because that's what we saw them. They closed out the day with a win on Storm Point. It was a map that went really well for them, and we're not seeing that as much today. Maybe they can get it here in the final match.
I can make use of that.
Sitting in 12th place overall with 21 points, as you guys can see on that left-hand screen. Just trying to charge up those Evo shields. That's why you could see their weapon loadout. LTC also not giving up this space. They have set up shop with the Watson fences. Going to be able to get some extra loot off of those spiders. McLovin is absolutely loving that gold Evo shield here too. And now Daniel is still trying to paint the rest of this section with more of those Watson fences.
Enemy in view there.
LTC is really been using these tridents here to get their rotations down. I mean, they're safe for now, but they do know that there's going to be some people near the vicinity. They may not have the next ring information, so they're going to focus on at least playing this intelligently for now until they know where they need to continue moving through. And when they do, there will be a few squads in their way, trying to keep my eyes on the map, see what decisions our teams are making. Lanimals potentially getting a little bit of poke damage coming through here on their rotation. I think this is going to be a tough spot for a lot of these teams to play. We can see a lot of them are starting to move a little bit towards the northeastern edge of the zone, assuming that's where they think it's going to be. And there's not going to be a lot of space for them considering how much congestion there is. Lanimals now having to rotate through the red here. Hopefully not run into everybody, as they were just kind of kept off of the original path they wanted to take.
Yeah, looking at this overhead too, and all the squads that are rotating from that northeastern side. Whew. Lanimals are about to rotate right on top of FaZe. Currently see AJC right to the south of that on top of Launchpad, who also have that circle beacon information. Man, the outside of the circle right here is going to get hot, and Optic is taking their time to rotate in. They don't need to get greedy. They have all the points in the world. They don't need to overextend. They just want to make sure that they can get as many points at the very end, even if it means making sure that they can get placement points and give up some of the KP that they've already got.
NRG fully on red Evos right now as they are trying to get this engagement to work in their favor. We do see that Dark Veil come down. Sweet instantly just poking through to get that damage down across the way. Takes a lot of damage in return and needs to back off here. Guilds without shields as well. Nathan the only healthy one, and they need to figure out how they want to handle this. Woo!
Ooh, Energy's won. Nathan goes crazy with a Nemesis. He's got the gold extended energy mag too. He doesn't even have to reload it other than the R9 who only has a purple in there. He probably got that off the replicator. Gets reloaded in his hands. He pops a shield bat. Oh, he is frying with this R9, but is it going to be enough without him being able to reset off the med kit?
Nathan just saved them twice there. Somehow Energy's still making their way out of there, but DZ is trying to third party that. We do see Guild go down in the kill feed. Lanimal's now down to a duo trying to hold on to their team. It's Albrelelli who's down. The chaos of these rotations is going to start coming to really bite some of these teams back. Energy out. Phase out in the kill feed.
What is this final game? Lanimal's also in trouble. They were flailing themselves on Storm Point. Now they lost out on Albrelelli. Lou's gonna try to reset, but he gets beamed with the charge rifle. Looked like he was fighting his demons right there after he dropped down from the ledge.
Lanimal's still trying to live here. LTC taking out Glitch Energy in the kill feed right now. Backing off here for a little bit of a reset with Lou. You can see Naughty up above as well. They're all trying to figure out how they need to handle the situation. Are they going to be able to get Albrelelli up? Or is that something they're just going to have to leave for now? Able to stick the res here. Nobody ends up pushing up onto them. So they've got the safe space and the time to do that. Drop in the heals here to make sure they can get reset as quickly as possible and then hopefully make their way out of there.
Here we go. Number one team right now in this lobby. Taken to the skies to go in for their rotate. They were frying, they were clearing everybody else left in here, and now they're trying to secure themselves a position for this next circle. They're going into this building, but I'd be so surprised if this isn't taken up for real. Oh, wow, they got this building for free when there's so many teams already in this area alone.
I have no idea how they were just able to make their way in there and barely take any damage on that skyward dive. People were trying. They were trying to get some damage onto them while they were in the skies. It didn't work. Optic now has lots of space to operate with here. You can see DZ across the way. That was a pretty clutch rotation for Optic. They should be able to hold that for a little while now. DZ, though, we saw DZ trying to third party in the kill feed, cleaning up some of these kills on some squads, going out early. Now they're going to be looking down at Optic to see if they can just at least be annoying and get some damage down. This is a much, much better game for DZ.
Look at the loot that they have too, Glitter. 2 red Evos. You got the gold extended light mag on the R301 in the hands of Jen. That's a scary combo. Especially with the car to complement it. 16 squads left and DZ was able to secure the extra KP. They are frying the 3-2-1. That poor Catalyst did not see it coming. Cue the music here for them while they still secure this choke point area, but Zero falls incredibly low. It's always DZ that somehow, it's always better late than never when they decide to pop off on Storm Point, I guess, some of these days, but this is what you'd like to see, especially when it comes to clearing out this area north of Optic. They don't want to try to fully send it in here, though. They want to keep maintaining this aggression in this space, denying the rotation opportunity from the squads that could rotate behind them in that choke point.
Yeah, and you can see they've got Sharky staying back, anchoring so they at least have their building, as well as the ability to zone anybody off of that space somewhere for the rest of DZ to fall back to. Zero still out there trying to maybe poke at Complexity, but not doing anything too crazy. CLG, though, land right next to Complexity, and this could be a perfect third-party opportunity for DZ.
Oh, it's early Christmas out here. CLG in trouble. Mamba on top of the spikes there. Chu gets taken down. DZ getting involved. Complexity now cleaning up what's left. LTC get eliminated in the feed, and Complexity looking to add another team right there. CLG get taken out. And we were talking about CLG earlier on. It's such a good performance on World's Edge. They made a comp swap up, and now with the Rolling Thunder, Complexity are looking to dance around the missiles.
You know, for getting dropped on like that, Complexity did not take a lot of damage, and I think DZ recognized that as well. They are pushed up to see if they can maybe participate, but they haven't forced it too aggressively yet. Now Complexity in the crosshairs of quite a few teams, and once DZ sees that, they once again retreat back to the safety of their building to hold that once more. It was almost an opportunity that they could have capitalized on had Complexity taken more damage, but they did a very good job of cleaning up CLG as quickly and efficiently as possible.
And to further break that down here too, Glitter, with CLG and FaZe out, CLG's in second place with 50 points. Lanimals is right behind FaZe in fourth place with 43 points. Wouldn't it be crazy if Lanimals stays in this lobby, pops off, and then secures himself a second place spot? Because we know that Optic Gaming has just too big of a gap between themselves and the rest of this lobby. They have 81 points included still right now, while they've been still frying in this final game. But Lanimals may find themselves in an opportunity to snag that second place spot if they have a pop-off game right here.
And that's what we were talking about, because Optic had point sponged so many of those points. It's still anybody's game once the second you get to second place, like you're saying. CLG out early, FaZe out early, and this is a prime opportunity for people to get those extra points. I mean, and it's going to be important for the likes of Lanimals because they are the teams that need to get him on the overall leaderboard. DZ now getting pushed. The first time that the aggression is being brought to them in this game by Meat Lovers. It's going to be interesting to see how DZ handles this. The first shield crack comes out. DZ now on a little bit of a back foot here. Meat Lovers continuing the aggression.
Oh, order up here. Meat Lovers got to look to their six. Oh, the ping, the immediate retaliation now. Sailor Squad moves right in through the front end. They get the crack on the Seer. Dark Zero get eliminated. They don't have the opportunity to reset their momentum after they finally found their stride on Storm Point. And it's only Tech alive. He looks at the Arc Star, maybe see if he can hide behind the knockdown shield. They see him through the Seer attack, though. He's hiding for his life behind this.
I don't know how he just made it out of there with his life, able to also grab that shield, but TSM go down in the kill feed while all that action is popping off. That could also have some massive point implications for the rest of our teams because they were tied with MLS and Sentinels heading into this matchup. And I think it was Complexity who was then trying to third party the fight that DZ just went down in. There's a lot.
To break down literally everything that just happened in these fights, happening in different angles of this circle with 7 squads left. Lanimals in all of this went down. Glitter, you mentioned TSM, also going down. Left here is Sentinels, MLS, Complexity, AJC, Drug Free, Noxious as a duo, by the way, and Optic Gaming. A lot happening here while Optic Gaming still remains alive and still is securing KP.
Okay, so what I got out of that then is that of all those teams you just named, Sentinels and MLS could be two of the teams that could benefit the most points positionally from this last match. Optic, even if they win, like we're saying, it won't change anything. What will matter will be where Sentinels and MLS finish in this final match. And if we're watching Optic right now, they are dishing out damage around them, but they are not fully in the zone yet to be safe. That's where they're making their moves to right now. In front of them, I think, is probably Complexity, who's been holding that area this entire time. So that'll be another player off the board on either side, depending who wins this engagement, opening up the door even more for Sentinels than MLS.
Lights everywhere. The Venn diagram is reading that Optic has got the high ground. Here comes a Catalyst walk coming up. Dropped, almost got called out. He manages to get away. Thankfully, get right back to the high ground. But that could have gone pretty bad if dropped was 3-2-1 for the squad right below them. Noxious get eliminated. Impulse just went crazy in the feed, getting a double kill right there too. 6 squads left, as Optic Gaming aren't going to be moving from the spot anytime soon.
They know Complexity is below them, and if they can hold them here and force the fight in their favor, then they will. But the zone has something to say about it. It's going to at least force Complexity just to that other side of the rock for now. They could come swing back through if they want to, but this is going to be a little bit of a dragged out engagement. You can see Noct needed to get those shields back up, and does, but the longer this goes on, the more attention that they will garner from across the way. And I think MLS is also quite close to these two, and they could play a spoiler role here.
Oh, they zoomed right back down to that little
they're behind
crevice.
them. There's MLS.
Oh, they're gonna wrap around complexity, but depending on how Optic Gaming takes this actually may open the doors for the third party coming in from MLS. Skittle sees them. They were shooting from the distance, so just having to be careful how they want to approach this. The Catalyst SWAT does go up. It looks like they want to engage on this, so this may be a third party in the making right now from MLS.
This would be massive right now. Obviously, like we keep saying, Optic solidified their position, but complexity is potential KP for MLS if they decide they want to push in, as is Optic. Right now, you can see MLS going up on high. They do get Skittle Cakes going down in the kill feed. MLS all on red shields as well, and wanting to take this fight, knowing they need these points, catching people as they're pushing out from under the rock. Vicky, MLS is frying and Optic Gaming goes out.
Why are you running? There is nowhere to go. Optic Gaming get taken out, but again, they were firing it up today. MLS now looking to take control over this entire north side. Monsoon says, please, not today. The Catalyst wall is helping him just for in the meantime. They know exactly where he is. He's hiding on the lip by that bin where Lux is pinging. He's looking to clean him up. He wants to overextend just a bit. Oh, Monsoon is not going down without a fight, though. He falls incredibly low. That's the last member of Complexity about to go down, and there you have it. 4 squads left now, Glitter. MLS is in this final circle, as well as Sentinels, AJC, and Drug Free.
Ooh, Sentinels are in a rough spot right now, though, just down to Rambo. I mean, they got the placement points that they needed here. Oh, RKN also still alive. Trying to clutch this one. Oh my god, they're both so low, Vicky. One shot could just clean us up, but the knockdown shields absolutely save that fight. Sentinels go down and somehow drug-free hold on to see another day.
MLS may be right in this because it was just AJC as a duo hiding in the crevice, and immediately MLS diverted their attention onto them. Before Drug Free can even restabilize, MLS says, let's take on these 2 individual fights between AJC and Drug Free. Prevent them from being able to reset, and it's time for us to clear up and eat the rest of this lobby up like it's a buffet.
And these were some of the teams that desperately needed these points. They will make a massive difference in our leaderboard when everything is said and done. MLS pushing in, knowing that they can clean that one up. And MLS is the match number 6 champion. A huge win for them at the end of the day, Vicky.
They needed that. You talked about it perfectly right there, Glitter. They absolutely needed that, but with such a massive last game, that was what? 15 KP, they cleaned up the last of the 3 squads. They probably skyrocketed themselves in the overall leaderboard. And guys, hear me out.
Yes.
What if MLS, just because what happened with CLG, Face, Animals, etc., what if they just took 2nd place? What if MLS did just enough to secure 2nd place behind Optic Gaming?
They might have.
I mean, look, maybe. And I'm not going to say that I was sitting back in my room just watching this all unfold, and every team that we were kind of talking about, we were just like, kind of queuing up some things. And I was like, maybe them. And then they'd kind of go out. And I'd be like, all right, well maybe this team is gonna do. I literally have never felt more like Wig on a watch party where he's like, this team has God spot, and then they go out within like 2 seconds. It's really... It was disheartening, but ladies, you absolutely slayed that cast. And I think back to one of my favorite moments of the things that I didn't get to talk about was the Rambo ninja kick midair with Valk. Clip of the year, please. Clip of the year.
That was actually crazy. And Keon also finishing up the rest for Sentinels. That was an insane last play. We didn't see it in our point of view too. All you saw was Optic flying, and then they died. And then Sentinels won.
It do be like that. And honestly, looking back at match number 6 towards that end game, I really thought that Sentinels had the ability to go back. And then I realized how unforgiving the Peacekeeper can be. And you witness everything about that Glitter, and you were just like waiting for it to connect, because after that Seer provided all of the information on the health, of course that member of Sentinels is going forward and is like, hey, I just need to land one shot. And it do be like that.
Like one pellet could have killed one of the players on drug free. It was so close. And I mean, had they had a nade, they could have won that, right? Could have gotten a reset for Sentinels. But either way, even if they don't get the dub and that a few extra KP, it was a performance that Sentinels needed to put themselves in a better spot on the leaderboard. They're another team that I'm going to be keeping my eyes on to see what that did overall for those points.
I mean, I think that's going to be really valid, right? It's like, did they get pushed to a far enough position? Like, how far did they jump up the leaderboard? But NRG, like, look, they are just absolutely pushing through it. Native gaming, they had some standout moments. Unfortunately, there was like teams that I just wish would have performed better. And I mean, people ask me all the time, and I'm sure they do with you, Vicky and Glitter. They're like, who are you rooting for? Like, who do you want to see? And I'm just like, dude, honestly, I'm here for all the teams that maybe you're having a little less than stellar performance. I want to see teams that maybe you don't know about or aren't on your radar perform.
Yeah, I like how you talk about the teams that didn't perform very well in the last week, now really coming through this time around. I just want to highlight, though, goodness, watching Optic Gaming clean up this entire lobby was insane. Green wall back, baby. It was crazy to see them pop off, and it's nice to see them come together. Not even winning a game, guys. They got second place, yeah, but they were flying out here. Also, looking at Sentinels, like we highlighted, one of the teams that needed to perform. They heard us, Sif, and they did it.
A lot of Prowler action here. MLS. I mean, this is kind of before they went on that absolute massive tear here. And look, Shubi, the first time I ever got to see him play, he was under Blackhand back in the day of Challenger Circuit, and he was pretty much one of the most phenomenal Bangalore players I have ever seen, and has thus far went on this like pro league journey. And seeing him evolve and adapt to whichever legend a team is putting on, whether that's a Valkyrie, and now seeing him on Catalyst and surviving as well, it's really glorious to see, Glitter.
I mean, this was one of the cleanest performances that we've gotten to see out of MLS. Not only for they frying, Vicky, your math was right, 15 kills for MLS, giving them 27 points. There's no way that does it. Well, I guess it'll depend on what we have for CLG here on these match results, but that is a huge performance for MLS. Might be putting them into second place for the day.
Guys, MLS was in 9th place before this last game. They were in 9th place with 31 points, 27 on top of that. I do think they did it. That's actually crazy for a final game. That's what highlights to you the importance of making sure that you don't just get the positioning, you get the KP to profit altogether. Looking down though here, Tiff, Optic Gaming, they still got the KP out here. They were still secured in first place. They felt pretty comfy, but Sentinels and Complexity really coming up too.
Yeah, I mean, look, had Sentinels been able to pick up some eliminations towards that end game, of course, they would have more points. But you're right. I mean, that 27 game from MLS is so substantial. And I'm really excited to see just how it pans out. I'm not going to do math, Vicky. It's just not in my favor. But 100 Thieves rounding out the top 10, Lanimals as well, finding some points. But when you have such a top-heavy leaderboard in terms of point, they sponge it up from every single other team in the lobby, and this other half of the leaderboard kind of shows that for map number 6. 2, 5, Dark Zero only getting 4 eliminations there and getting 5 points from it. So it's really tough to kind of make a trajectory up the leaderboard. But for Team MLS, having a big game with 27 points can do wonders for them. So let's go ahead and look at the series results and see what happened today for maps 1 through 6. A versus B, baby. The second matchup, Optic Gaming, first place, 85 points. We talk about a point sponge. There you go. MLS, but they did it, Vicky. They did it.
That is an insane final game, guys. They went from 9th place to 2nd because of what happened to NRG, because of what happened to Lanimals, FaZe, CLG, the teams that could have secured their top 3 spot. CLG did, of course, but FaZe was right there behind Optic Gaming. No one was gonna boot Optic Gaming off that first place spot. I mean, come on, guys. 85 points is crazy. But looking at the other half of things, Glitch Energy, a team that I was talking about a lot in the pre-show, unfortunately falling in 15th. TSM, at least in the top 10 portion right here, right behind Sentinels, but maybe not getting the day that they wanted to have after starting off really strong in game number 1.
Yeah, that's kind of tough because you look at like TSM as well. You know, you're right. You got that game number 1, but man, maybe just carry forward, GG, go next kind of vibe. Don't let the vibes get chalked. Keep pushing that effort forward. 100 Thieves, 11th place on the day with 29 points, but the point differentials between the teams just to move up just 1 slot was not far at all. And I think that's why MLS was able to double down on that game in map number 6 and kind of go up. So let's come on over. Let's see how it panned out for the season standings here. Split 2 Pro League regular season thus far. I'm nervous. And FaZe reigning supreme here at the top, but this is looking a lot more closely than maybe EMEA was. Just based off eliminations alone, FaZe 76 points with, or 76 elims with 55 points. Dark Zero, Optic Gaming 75, but that was a really good day for Optic, and I think it was well needed, Glitter.
Not to mention, I'm pretty sure that heading into today, on the overall, Optic was somewhere around 12th or something like that, and they have now skyrocketed themselves into 3rd. FaZe taking over that 1st place position. I mean, this is a very, very stacked first page right now. And then I think MLS managing to get onto this page after that stellar performance, getting those points on the board. 2nd page is where I think we're going to start to see some surprises for people that maybe aren't supposed to be up here. Overall, those Sentinels did jump up, making it up to 15th. So it's still an improvement, at least for them, Vicky.
Yeah, I love to see that from teams like Sentinels out here, still putting themselves on board. Complexity as well right on top of them with the 41 kills, 26 points. Let's take a look at the other half, though, because I know we see Furia there, we see TSM there. Furia played yesterday. Now looking at the last page out here, Luminosity in 23rd still. We're going to be able to see more of them eventually in Group C. Tripods as well, they're going to be able to meet up with Luminosity eventually. Oxygen Esports, Native Gaming, SCS, a lot of these teams like Noxious as well. We saw them earlier today. CCE, who are getting contested off the rip. A lot of these teams still struggling to find their stride. It's day number 4. You're running out of time.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point to talk about time, because there were a lot of teams that really needed to start performing well or finish within the top 5 to kind of really make sure that they are kitting themselves out for success and making it to that split 2 playoffs, because the number of match days are dwindling. But one of my favorite parts of the broadcast is we love to highlight specific team members in particular that had standout performances through our map series of the day. So it is time for our MVP nominations presented by Monster Energy. All right, ladies, this is the time. This is the discussion, and I know that you have come locked and loaded, ready to talk about your picks. I'm going to start with you, Glitter. Who's your nomination?
Okay, I don't think we can talk about today at all without talking about Optic, and for me, it was Skittle Cakes. I mean, the man absolutely fried all day, and if you want to hear some stats, well, I have those numbers for you, okay? We're talking most kills in the lobby for today at 21. Most damage in the lobby at 6.6k damage. The most knocks in the lobby at 24 knocks, with an almost 88% knock to kill conversion percentage. And this is all contributing to the incredible amount of success that we saw Optic have here today. We understand why Skittle Cakes is such a phenomenal player after a performance like that.
I mean, you're not lying. You're not lying. It was impressive. Optic Gaming all day just stood up and answered the questions that we've been asking. Vicky, I've got to give it to you. Who's your nomination?
I'm siding out here with Glitter. I know you guys want to spam the Optic Gaming emo everywhere. Green wall is going up because my second nominee's got to be knocked out here. With his performance today, he secured 20 kills all day today. Imagine that. Skittle and Knocked, both 20 kills. Skittle with the 21 kills is crazy, but not with his performance today. Also secured himself in the top 6 area of the kill leaders within the split 2 and NA, right behind Fun with 29 kills. They're going to be able to tie up together out here, but Optic Gaming was on another level. If it wasn't the dub, it's fine. It was the KP that they were able to secure. Very smart rotations. We got to listen to their comms eventually at one point during game number 5, and I really like to see this new look of Optic Gaming, but can they consistently bring that for us going into the future weekends for the Pro League?
I like that. And that has been the question that is overarching for everything. It's all about consistency. And I want to kind of throw a wrench into that conversation. Some teams looked really good, but I want to nominate Shiny from CLG, okay, for my nomination. We've got to talk about him. It's been interesting, right? We got Mamba on the Caustic, but Shiny holding back on that Seer, getting all of that recon information and being able to just absolutely throw down 8 eliminations for Shiny thus far, which makes him the 5th kill leader on our series thus far today. And they found a lot of success, and I feel like ever since they stopped contesting on World's Edge, it kind of looks like an entirely different CLG. But we beg to differ. Like, will this momentum keep going forward? And of course, MLS. After game number 6, we got to give them a nice honorable mention. Shuby, Luxfordy, just absolutely frying out to throw down such a massive game, almost 30 points. And Luxford, I believe, 3rd on the kill leaderboard for today for the series. So shout out to them for being absolutely phenomenal. But that's it from us, y'all. That was our MVP nominations presented by Monster Energy. All right, well. So we got to highlight our players, and you saw on EMEA where we got to talk about the Prowler. Let's get into some discussions today about maybe a particularly other weapon that some other people might have some interesting words about. And I know Vicky in particular will feel some type of way about this, but it's one of the segments, and that is going to be What's in Your Pack, presented by WD Black. All right, ladies, we talked about the Prowler in EMEA. We got some really cool voice comms out of Vicky, and I want to run it back. This time, girl, it's the charge rifle. Can you do it?
Oh, man.
You can opt out.
Charge. Well, let me try to see. Zoom, boom. That's kind of what I hear every time. You know what? And you know what? That's the grieving weapon 3000. Let's be real with it, because that's all I hear ringing in my ears when I have to go to bed after a pretty bad night at ranked. But we saw some hip firing shots coming out from reps. That's what allowed them to secure that first dub. But we saw charge rifles lighting up the skies in every direction. It looked like a light show out here in the lobby.
I mean, you're not lying. The lasers, you feel it too, Glitter. You're like, it is. Baby, I'm a firework in the hands of that charge rifle. I'd love to hear your thoughts about it.
I mean, obviously, you know, the hit scan weapon, so many people are going to be having that as part of their weapon comps, getting those shields evoed up. We see it far too often, but does it hurt to get hit by the charge rifle Charlie every once in a while? It sure does. It sure does.
Is it charge rifle Charlie, or is it charge rifle Chads? I guess it really just depends on who's utilizing it, because I feel like some people get a lot of respect for using it, and then others maybe not so much. It's all fun and games until someone's shooting you with the charge rifle. Let's be real. But thank you so much. That was all for WD Black. What's in your pack? Well, another day has come to a close. Our second round robin has begun as we got to see A versus B. Glitter, I'm gonna throw it over to you really quick because I kind of want to hear your closing thoughts for the day. We have to start thinking about the future here.
Yeah, and we keep talking about that, but there is a point where if teams are going to be having performances like Optic had today and jumping themselves up their leaderboard, or if we're going to be seeing the consistency that we saw out of teams like FaZe that are keeping themselves at the top, there will be a point threshold that will be hit soon that is starting to guarantee those top teams a spot in playoffs. I know it feels early, but it is not. So every single match day that our teams are going to be playing starts mattering that much more. We saw incredible performances out of our squads here today in NA. I cannot be any more excited for what essentially the second half of our split has in store now.
Ooh, I mean, that's a very integral point, right? They are at the halfway point in a sense, right? They have played their 3 match days for groups A and groups B, and they have to step up. If you are not finding yourself in that potential LAN coveted spot, you don't want to leave it to regional finals. I talked about that earlier, and that is a very scary thing. Anything can go wrong. We don't like to leave things by chance. But Vicky, closing thoughts from today.
Your point helps me pivot to what I was thinking. Group A versus C will be next for NA, and what does that mean for the teams that aren't performing to their best potential standards from Group A? I'm looking at TSM out here. I want to see more coming out from Sentinels. Complexity as well. We saw that they could do it. I know they could do it again. MLS should not wait to get 15 KP in the last game to pop off, especially when they have those shiny moments themselves. I'm excited to see how Group A is going to fare up against Group C once again, and it's going to be a good time because like you guys mentioned, we're already basically at the halfway point. So a lot of these teams already know what they have to change up so that way they could settle down for LAN.
And we think of groups A versus C. I think of XSET. They had some pure domination over there. But ladies, you absolutely fried on the mic today. Congratulations for just being so amazing. I appreciate both of you. I'm going to let you off the hook for the rest of this night. Go get some hydration. Take care of yourself. You deserve it. And then it'll just be me here. No, I'm just kidding. What's up, guys? Here's the deal. We're going to close out the show, and we're going to do it in fashion because we've got a lot of things that we're looking forward to. So please make sure that you go follow at Play Apex Esports on Twitter and smash that follow button on Twitch. I said it in EMEA. We were almost to 1 million followers on the Twitch channel, and I feel like that's something that we can make happen here. So let's boost that channel to 1 million on Twitch. It's been an eventful day, but you know, yes, the action is coming to a close here today for ALGS Sunday, but there's more, right? We're gonna keep on asking those questions, and we get to see Group A versus C next Sunday, March 26th. Let's roll the highlights because we have a beautiful package for you that's going to kind of give us all the good moments that we witnessed, whether it's EMEA, whether it's North America, so many solid pop-off teams, 2R1C. Yo, I mean, look, if you're here for the North American broadcast and you don't watch EMEA, what are you even doing? What are you doing? EMEA has been raising the level of their lobby, just trying to make sure that they can solidify some good chances there at LAN for the Split 2 playoffs. And then XSET, they will be going up against TSM that next Sunday. So make sure you're here because you don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss it at all. But that's all from us. Vicky, Glitter killed it today. I was your host, but we'll see what happens next week. Until then, though, just take care of yourself, guys. And maybe go drop into some Apex games. Maybe I'll find you out there. All right. Until next time.
It is all kicking off right now, and things are about to get a little bit rough.
Nice beamage from Reds, and with the charge rifle, it's gonna be the nail in the coffin right here, and TSM take game number 1. Where are you climbing? You can't get up there for free. Dark Zero lose out on 2, and there's only one more left for Dark Zero before FaZe takes game number 2.
NRG go down. CLG will be closing this one out.
I'm burning one. They're climbing back up.
Now Lanimals looking to set themselves up for success here and take their first map win.